We're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. East, could you? Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the stands one nation, native soul, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
Mr. Albather,
Present.
Mr. Squaga,
Here.
Chair Bybee, here, Mr. East,
Present.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Mr. J,
Present.
Mr. Long,
On Zoom.
Mr. Murdoch,
Here and present.
Mayor Sheedy.
You need the number to call.
I gave it to her.
Okay.
You have a point.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item B, comments from the floor by the public. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment?
None at this time.
Okay. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll go ahead and close item B and move on to item C, consent agenda. I am going to move item C1 because we'll be making some order of the agenda changes. So I'm going to remove C1. Did anyone else have something they wanted removed from consent agenda? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve minus C1. So moved.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Mr. Squaga, a second from Commissioner Hill to approve the consent agenda items C2 and C3. Any discussion?
Just for the action reverse, but.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, motion by
I'm just
Commissioner
such a
Hill.
stickler.
I want the record to read correctly, so motion, I will correct that, Madam Clerk. So motion by, you had it and I didn't, so you were correct and I wasn't. So I have a motion, a second, no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Going back to item C1 on the agenda, today we are going to have a couple of changes. Item D1, which is the Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan. With the weather this morning, we have a couple members that will be Zooming in, but one member trying to get down that mountain this morning. So we're going to move item D1 to after E2. So it will be moved just later in the agenda. And on board matters under E, we're removing E3 and E4, which are the employment agreements for our new CEO. You were all notified last night that we were ambitiously hoping we would have that ready today in a quick 2-week turnaround. Not ready to go yet, so we are still in negotiations, and we'll finalize that and get back to you when we'll be approving those. So for today, we're going to remove E3 and E4. So with that, I would just need a motion to approve the revised agenda as stated. So moved. I have a motion by Commissioner Hill. I have a second by Mr. Murdoch. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. C1 as adjusted passes. So we are moving on then our next item, the under board matters. And it is E1, review, discussion, and possible action to approve funding for the firefighter regional games. So we're being asked today to review, discuss, and possibly take action to approve a request by the Sparks Fire Department for sponsorship of the firefighters regional games in an amount not to exceed $35,000. This morning, I had two of my firefighters from the city of Sparks. I have Tyler Gayton, battalion chief, and Yazir Noam, firefighter paramedic, and I'm going to ask them to come up, and they're going to give us a presentation on an exciting event that's coming in May.
Yeah, here's my IT guy. Yeah. All right, well, good morning, board members. Thank you for having us here. As Ms. Spivey said, my name is Tyler Gate. I'm a battalion chief with Sparks Fire Department. And here to my left, we have a fire operator now. He was recently promoted, operator Yazir Naum. So what we want to do is we just kind of want to give you a rundown of what we're trying to bring here this year. Our plan is to kind of grow this into a multi-year event. I explained to Ms. Spivey yesterday, we kind of have to crawl before we can walk, before we can run. So our plan is to host a regional event this year, grow it into hopefully a nationals event in the years to come, and then leading up to a world's event. When we start talking about world's event, we're talking about nationally televised on ESPN3. We're talking about 200 to 250 competitors from all over the globe. So it can be kind of a big thing. It brings in a lot of money into our local economy. Obviously, we'll kind of get into it in the slide, but we're hosting it this year at the Nugget Event Center. So we already have a hotel host with the Nugget to provide discounted room rates for our competitors and spectators that will be traveling into the area. And it's just a great venue, knowing that the competitors and the spectators can stay right at the Nugget, and all they have to do is walk out the door and we're inside the Nugget Event Center. So we'll kind of go through this PowerPoint and just kind of show you, people always ask, what is the challenge? What does this mean? So the challenge, it actually it started about 32 years ago, and it's derived from a federally funded, university-based occupational health research study that was conducted by Dr. Paul Davis. He came up with 5 different events that he wanted to study the effects of firefighters and what that took, like the toll it took on their body. And typical firefighters, what did they do? They said, we can turn this into a competition. And that's exactly what they did. So it's kind of evolved over the years. And in the last 3 to 4 years, the company called First Responder Institute has kind of taken it over. They've rebranded it. And it used to be called the Firefighter Combat Challenge. It's no longer called the Combat Challenge, it's called the Firefighter Challenge. They've created the Task Force TIP Firefighter Challenge Championship Series. The main corporate sponsor now is ServPro and also ESPN. And what they did is they took it and they regionalized the events, because what they were finding is they were holding events all over the country, multiple events, and they weren't getting people to show up. They'd get 10 to 15 competitors and that was it. So they said, we need to regionalize this. We need to make it into a league with divisions and actually like do this professionally. So that's what they've done over the last few years. So again, like Ms. Spivey said, the Sparks Firefighters Association is the one that's kind of hosting this and funding this. Our event is going to be May 16th through 18th at the Nugget Event Center. And so to talk a little bit about our association, Yazir is actually our treasurer of our association. So I'm going to turn it over to him and he can kind of guide you from here.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us. Good morning. My name is Chief Gaten was saying I'm a operator for the city of Sparks, and I'm one of the people that volunteer to kind of keep our association alive. This is not our union, and this is not the fire department. This is the charitable arm of the union. We are one of the oldest nonprofits in the state of Nevada since 1928, and we are also a federally recognized 501c3 not-for-profit organization. How do we raise funds with our own money? We don't pay dues for the association. We do pay dues for our union, but the association is an independent entity, and we come up with initiatives to raise funds. This is all small stuff. We don't have that much, but what do we use with those funds? What do we use them for? We give back to the community. So we sponsor a family, for example, the Kids Cottage initiative. We gather, as you can see in one of those slides, and if there's a citizen in need, for example, senior citizen that needed her backyard cleaned, otherwise her insurance was going to drop her. We gather off duty, we volunteer our times, our resources, and we go help. That is the essence of our association. Now, one of the reasons why we are here is because this firefighter challenge that we have is a little bit too big for us. We handle, just to give you a an idea of our day-to-day operations as an association, we handle donation requests for $200, $200, maybe 10 or 20 of those a month. And we basically carry a fund of $20,000 to $30,000 on a constant basis. Now, this firefighter challenge, as Chief Gavin is going to outline, is going to cost us upwards to $50,000. So that's why we are seeking sponsorship, any sort of assistance that we can get. As I was saying, we invest our time, we volunteer our time, our resources, and we don't really have a constant stream of revenue or funding coming in monthly basis. As the union would have, this is not the union, this is not the fire department. The firefighter challenge is not being funded by public funds. This is all just a group of guys and girls trying to make this happen. And what do we gain out of this? We put the city of Sparks on the map. The firefighter challenge has never been hosted in the city of Sparks by the city of Sparks or the association. The firefighter challenge is going together us as a team. It's a great example of teamwork and just effort put by firefighters. And it's free for the public to show up and witness high level of competition being performed in our city, putting us on the map, not just the fire department, the association, but the city as a whole and the entire region. So that's why we're here.
Thank you, Gabby. So we'll kind of go through the slides now. The challenge is open to all firefighters and showcases the strength, determination, and readiness of the men and women responding to our needs. It's a competition among real hero and a league of their own. So this is what I was talking about. They've rebranded it a little bit and created now certain divisions and leagues. There's a tandem relay, there's a team relay, and then there's also the Indy or the individual relays. It was founded, I touched on this a little bit, it was founded more than 3 decades ago. It's globally recognized action-packed sporting event. And then ESPN calls it the toughest 2 minutes in sports. On average, the pro level athletes are competing this anywhere from around 1:15 to 1:20. We're going to show you a video here at the end that kind of details what this looks like. And then they do it on what they call their Arena of the Brave. So the Firefighter Challenge League, this is where they kind of turned it around a little bit and said we need to create the division. So it's a sporting league, it's exclusively for firefighters, but like Yazir said, this is a sporting event that's open to the public. So we're gonna be at the Nugget Event Center, the gates will be open. Our plan is to kind of make it a community-based event with booths from REMSA, Sparks Fire, Sparks PD, the Forest Service is gonna have a booth there. And our focus is kind of like bring the public in and let them see kind of what we do as a community. We operate community where encouragement, support, and lifelong friendships are developed. So this is the First Responder Institute. This is the company that's come in and taken over the challenge. They inspire the next generation of firefighter and EMS servants, inspire fitness, nutrition, mental health, and well-being. Celebrate and showcase the strength and readiness of the fire service. And we want to be the coolest sport ever. First Responder Institute is also a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. So these are the 3 different divisions. You have your pro level, your competitive level, and then your developmental level. Again, that pro level, you'll see the individuals competing in the video. Jared Johnson, he's like, I think a 8-time or 9-time world champion. And he does it right around like 1:15. And then obviously we want to try to get the kids engaged and involved. So they do offer a special division for our junior firefighters and explorers from 13 to 21. These are the regional events. It's going to start off, the very first event of the season opener is in Indianapolis at FDIC. It's a huge, one of the biggest fire conferences in the country. And then from there, they go into the regional events. So the Southeast region event in Palm Beach, Florida is first. And then we're the next event on the West Coast, the West region event, again, May 16th through the 18th. So these are the 5 different evolutions of the event. And again, this is what Dr. Paul Davis created. So at the high-rise pack carry, it's the starting point of the course. Participants climb up our 41-foot, 5-story tower of stairs, and we carry a 42-pound hose pack. Then once we get to the top of the stairs, we do the hose hoist. So we'll lean over the tower and we'll pull hand over hand, a 42-pound donut roll hose up to the top of the stairs. And then from there, we go into what we call the Kaiser machine or the force machine. You'll see them hit between their legs, the hammer, and they have to slide it off the back. Again, the pro level competitors are doing this in about 3 or 4 hits. Then they go into a hose advance. So they'll run through what we call the delineators. They'll get to the hose. They have to advance it. I think it's 100 feet or 140 feet through the delineators. And then 75 feet of hose drag. And then they end with probably the hardest thing, which is the 175-pound dummy drag that they have to pull it back 106 feet to the finish line. So this is just kind of how it goes through each of the events. So you have to qualify for the U.S. Nationals. So you can do it at any of the regional events or the season opener. And then from there, you'll go into the Nationals event. And then if you qualify for Nationals, you'll compete in World. So the World this year is being held in Nashville, Tennessee. Serve Pro recently took over as the corporate sponsor. And they said, we want to have the first Worlds event, and their corporate office, from what I've told, is in Nashville. So it's being held in Nashville this year. So like we said, we're hosting our event at the Nugget. They've been great to work with. I've been working with Casey over there and Amanda as far as getting rooms and getting marketing and stuff. As far as I know, we should have something up on the marquee in the next week or so, advertising this. I've also reached out to Lamar Advertising with some billboard space, and they've been gracious enough to give us some billboard space leading up to the event. So we will have some advertising going on here pretty soon. Looking at last year's event and just some numbers. So last year's event was not very conducive. They had upwards of 105 degrees in Utah. And for those of you that don't know, when we wear all of our gear, it adds about 60 pounds. So it'd be wearing 105 degree heat and wearing all that equipment. It's not very conducive. They also didn't have a huge turnout due to the heat. Being that ours is in May, who knows what we're gonna get, right? It's May. So we're fingers crossed we have some good weather. The revenue stream is unknown since this is kind of a free event to the public. We don't charge an admission fee or anything like that. But obviously we're gonna have people coming in, we're gonna have spectators and competitors again, staying at the Nugget, eating at the eateries downtown, things like that. So for those of you that don't know, I looked up Murray City, Utah, and it's about half the size of Sparks. So they did have last year, they had 108 competitors or firefighters. For a regional event, that's on the lower end, you're usually around 100 to 150. So we're trying to shoot for that 150 mark if we can get there. I just found out yesterday, we're gonna have seven competitors from Travis Air Force Base coming. So I competed in this back in like 2008, 2009, and Travis Air Force Base always had usually pro level competitors. So they'll be fun to watch. So this is just a little bit of, they had 22 females, 86 males, anywhere from 19 to 67. We had 41 different departments represented, US and Canada. And I did ask, and it sounds like Canada they should be in our regional event. So, and 21 different states were there.
Working.
So here's the video we'll pull up just so you guys can kind of see. We kind of went through the 5 different events, but here's a video. So Jared Johnson is the individual right there with the Johnson on his back and the black turnouts. Again, I think he's a 8-time world champion. But this is actually a really good race. So yeah, there's no sound.
Come on. Jared Johnson. Jake Lanier. Going for it all. This is for the National Championship 2022. Let's go. Come on, Jerry. Come on, Jake. Both men to the top of the tower in 12 seconds. Look at that. Look at that. Looking solid as Jared Johnson. Jake Lanier just a couple of steps ahead of him. Jake Lanier looking good here. Jake Lanier coming down. Jake Lanier wants that title. He wants that top title. Top time on that red side is 116. Top time on that blue side is 117. How many hits on the title? Connor Whitney. Connor 1, 2, 3. 3 strokes on that. 3 strokes on that. 3 strokes for a while. 3 keys in the controls each other this year. Let's go. He's clean. Was he clean on it? He was clean on that. Let's go. 48 seconds on a slip up from Jake Lanier. Come on, Jared. Come on, Jake. Come on, Jared. Let's go now. Jared Johnson looking good. Here's his target. Jake Lanier has his target. Back in on rescue Randy. It's going to come down to technique. It's going to come down to technique in the first game. Let's go, Jared. Get him, Jake. Jared Johnson has to be outside. Jared Johnson wants that championship. Jared Johnson trying to get a best time here. Jared Johnson, that national championship right there.
So in minute 17, so again, for Travis Air Force updates coming, we do hope to have a view of the pro level competitors at our event, which will be exciting to watch. And that's it. With that, again, like I said, we're asking for the 35,000. The cost to bring this event here is 37,500 just to pay First Responder Institute to come. And then we anticipate some ancillary costs, you know, Sandy huts, because the Nugget won't have Sandy huts in the Nugget Event Center at that time. So we have to get Sandy huts. There's just other little things. So we're asking for the 35,000 because it will really help kind of cover a majority of the cost that we thank you for your time, and if you guys have any questions, we'll do our best to answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm exhausted watching that.
Yeah.
Just to note, there are no city council members or the mayor that will be running that course. It's
You're
only,
welcome to if you choose.
Alexis is going to do it for us.
yeah. So on the income generated, from, you said your goal is 150, participants. So those people are coming in. So we have hotel room revenue. The Nugget is giving you a few complimentary rooms just for volunteers, but the rest is all at a reduced rate. So we will have room tax revenue from that. And then you were telling me that in other cities, some stay in, VRBOs or Airbnbs.
Yes, that's correct. A lot of them, again, the like pro level, the athlete level, they prefer VRBOs because of the kitchen, and they can cook their own meals and bring their own meals and things like that. So I would anticipate there will be a few of them staying in VRBOs, Airbnbs. And then, yeah, the majority of them that are traveling in will probably stay at the Nugget. Yes.
Okay, so we will have room revenue as well as VRBOs, also the economic impact. So if you've got competitors, but then with them come family, friends, so the numbers, would be bigger than that, and they'll be eating out and shopping and spending money in the community. So
exactly. Yeah, and that's why we really think the Nugget is like a great venue because it's all right there in downtown Sparks. There's plenty of places to go eat. Right down on Victorian or either direction they go. So, and then obviously the Nugget has great food, great restaurants as well. So we do think that the Nugget is a great venue for this.
okay, and really, the ultimate goal, like you said, is to move this, if this is successful. And I guess another point to be made is that our fire chief, Chief White, who unfortunately is vacationing with his family and couldn't be here, or he would.
Yeah.
When he was fire chief of Sacramento Metro, actually worked with they hosted firefighter challenges, and they hosted a world.
Yeah, he hosted a Worlds in the Capitol, right in front of the Capitol in Sacramento. So he definitely has like the knowledge and expertise on this. And to be honest, this was his vision. This was his baby. He wanted to bring it here. And Yazir and I said, yeah, absolutely, let's do this. So that's what we're doing moving forward. And yeah, our plan again is to kind of grow this and make it into a Worlds event eventually.
Questions? Commissioner Hill?
I see real potential with this, especially with kind of what we're trying to brand our community as, recreation and, being outside. And I know that we at TM Fire are trying to recruit diverse recruits and trying to get more people interested in fire service. And man, this meets our goals. So you should come to our board and ask for money. I mean it. You should. Because this is something that we challenged our chief with. And I think kids seeing, how cool it is, I think that's very exciting. I'm just wondering on the typical sponsorship, don't we require 2 hoteliers?
With our typical special event funding
Uh-huh.
program that's currently open right now, for anyone, it closes Monday at 5.
Right, but that's for next year, so
Yes.
this is
Mhm.
like, yeah, last minute opportunity.
Yeah, we do.
So I don't know if that gives anyone heartache, but it is a new event and I feel like it's a startup. We're helping an event with startup costs and, you know, hopefully we can hold them to the same standards when they come in, you know, if they come back. I also, just as other sponsors, just to keep in mind, Remsa could be a sponsor for y'all. They are?
Yeah.
How much are they coming in at? It would be good if there was a budget, honestly. $1,000. And then have you asked Waste Management? Because they also can, they're very pro fire.
No, we haven't used that.
I can put you in touch with, or your councilwoman could put you in touch with the right people there.
Okay,
But thank you for the presentation.
thank you.
Yeah, maybe Tyler, you've been out trying to get sponsorships, so maybe mention some of the sponsorships that you have committed already.
Okay, yeah, I think that,
Yes, we have Belfort Property Restoration. They will be a sponsor outside of the venue because it conflicts with Surf Pro, which is also a property restoration. They are a main sponsor. Unfortunately, Surf Pro sponsors the foundation that brings the event, so that doesn't help us. But Belfort, they still want to help us, so they came up with $2,500. We'll be outside of the venue with a table, one of their trucks, I believe, in front of the Nugget Event Center. We have Remsa. We have Max Celeste Pizzeria in Sparks, which they've always helped us. The owner, Jim Flanagan, he unfortunately lost his home during the Paradise Fire. He relocated to Reno. He opened his pizza joint. He has always helped us. This is not the first time. What else do we have? Wild Island in Sparks, and a couple more. They all have NV Energy. That's big.
and the energy was our big one.
$10,000 from NV Energy. And they all add up to about $18,000 that we've gathered so far.
Okay. Other questions, Mr. J?
Thank you. Great presentation. You know, watching those guys go up that show was pretty amazing. So the event costs about 50,000, you're saying roughly?
Yeah, 37,500 is the bill for First Responder Institute, so that just gets them in the door. That gets them coming and setting up the venue and the event. The rest of it is kind of on us, like I said, whether we have to get Sandy huts or lighting or things like that. Luckily with the, what's that?
What do you expect that to be? What do you think the total cost?
50,000 is what we're estimating our total cost at.
Okay.
And like I said, this is our first time doing it, so
Sure.
it's one of those, like, we gotta throw something on the wall and then we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So right now you got about 18,000, so you're roughly 32,000 in need of contributions remaining.
Yeah.
Okay, and then final question, how many room nights are we estimating on this? Have we done any kind of?
So the event runs the 16th through the 18th. The 15th is also open for practice rounds. So I would anticipate people showing it around the 13th or the 14th to get acclimated, staying all the way through till the 18th and maybe checking out on the 18th. So however many nights that is.
So 6 room nights?
Yeah, 6 room nights or so.
And just kind of doing that math, how many people do you think would, you know, how many rooms do you think we would?
I'm hoping if we can book anywhere from 30 to 50 rooms.
Okay, so on the small side, so 180 rooms, ballpark.
Yeah, and then, yeah, like Ms. Bivey said, some of those, there are some comp rooms for the volunteers. Some of the volunteers though are staying upwards of like 8 days. So again, they'll be down at the Nugget in that area, again, generating revenue.
And then one final question, thank you. Majority people, do they drive in or fly in, would you say?
I honestly don't know that question, or I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
That's fine.
It is like, so if you look at like the states that are represented, other than Alaska and Canada, obviously I would assume that they'll fly in, but some of the more further away areas, I would anticipate they would fly in.
Okay. Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mr. Murdoch?
Thank you. You know, I think this has, it's interesting as heck because you've got the worlds, the regionals and the nationals. That's pretty neat. The RSCVA, because we have a convention money in our convention fund to develop conventions. Is this a opportunity for RSCVA partner with you guys to bring the worlds, to bring the regionals, to bring the nationals here. Number one. Number two, wouldn't you open this up statewide so that all the fire departments can come here and compete? So, because if you're a firefighter in Vegas, you got to come up here and spend the night. So, I mean, there's such an opportunity here if you really look at this as a convention that could grow. I mean, I like where you're going with it. I really do. I just think you know, you can, this is your first year, then you get it, and this could go, I think it would go viral with opportunity to come to Reno and compete. Especially in the state of Nevada. You know, you could, whether it's the Elko Fire Department, I mean, I think, or even around California, I think you guys are on the right track. Like to see that, and hopefully, you know, Mike, you've got people working the national, your group, the RSCVA is working nationally for these guys or to help you, and you giving them, you guys are in lockstep here for that. Makes a lot of sense, but again, it's things like this is all about heads and beds, butts and seats for me. It's room tax. Yeah. If we don't have room tax, we can't give out donations. So the point is, we appreciate that, and if it's an out-of-town event, and we could make it even a regional out-of-town event, this really has legs. I think it could grow. What a neat thing you could have in the city of Sparks, you know, the nationals or and it's a good opportunity, I think, for the Nugget, you know, to get stuff. I really feel like this has legs as long as we can work lockstep with these young guys, get this thing working.
Yeah, and we also see that ability to grow, and we realize that. We initially wanted to hold a nationals event or just basically skip a regional event. And they were like, no, let's do a regional event first. Plus Pro came in and said, we have the corporate, you know, first right of refusal. So we want to host the national and the world's event. So yeah, our goal is bigger than this.
Yeah.
But we, like I said, it's that we got to crawl, the walk to run thing. And yeah, a lot of people are like, where's Sparks, Nevada? We don't know where that is. So something like this to grow it and get it bigger, I think puts legs on them. And then a lot of it is word of mouth. You know, the competitors from all over the West Coast come and they go, you know, hey, we went to the Sparks regional event and it was great. You know, with great accommodations. You know, we were downtown Sparks. It was convenient, and it kind of spreads because this firefighter challenge is it's a tight knit community. It's a you know, as firefighters generally are. So having it here for the first time in Sparks, that word will spread. And I think that it will, like you said, grow and get larger over the years.
And to me, this is, to the group here, it can be either under the special event umbrella, or it can be under the convention.
It's a bit of a hybrid.
So how you want to take this is, there's funds in all those areas that I think, you know, we have money in all that development area. And this is, to me, a piece of development business. Thank you.
So Tyler, real quick, just to follow up on one of Mr. Murdoch's comments about statewide. Do you anticipate fire competitors coming in from across the state?
Yeah, I think there actually already is somebody from Vegas already registered to compete.
Do the rurals do any teams? Any of the rural communities?
I believe we have somebody from Elko coming in to compete. So we are already pushing this out statewide, and it's out there. I did ask, so Russell Jackson is the CEO of First Responder Institute. And I said, as this gets closer, what do you guys do on your end to push this out to the other states? Because I can push this out, you know, locally and to our state, but how do I get out to Arizona, to California? Luckily, we have Chief White, so he has a pretty good stronghold in California still. But Arizona, Utah, Montana, and he said as it gets closer, they really start ramping up marketing and pushing it out to the other states to bring those outside competitors in. But yeah, to answer your question, we do have some rural and some state competitors here. So
This is something our CVA can send out to all your streams. This is how you build room nights, and you become their de facto. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Twaka.
No, and thank you, Tyler and Yazira. Really to build on Rick's comments, I think, and again, I think it's a great concept. I'm a little surprised it's as small as it is, quite honestly, numbers wise, just because I don't know, every town I drive through has a fire station, right? But
not everybody wants to compete.
No, I get it. I get it, but I mean, it seems like a natural, and that's exactly, you answered my question on first responder, who is responsible for getting on the phone and selling, right? And sounds great to say we're gonna ramp up as we get closer, but right, these guys are training and planning and you've got families that are gonna come in. I would just think that if anything, we're a little late this, I think it's worth, I definitely think it's worth giving it a shot, but looking forward, it'd be great to have a year in advance.
Yes.
And one question I had is, so is the regional, is first responder involved on all levels, regional, national, global?
Yes. The first
So,
responder.
so the door is open if we do a good job on this to tee up that natural discussion.
Yeah,
I would say that the chief white on your camp, you can make anything happen. The thing is, he asked us to step up to the challenge, and this is our first time.
Yeah.
The way I look at it, there's an event held by the first responders. The whole theme of first responder, not for profit, free to the public, this is a positive event any way you look at it. And I agree, this is fun to watch to anyone. So if we can do a good job on a qualifying regional event, and we can host a world event at some point, that would be huge. If we can do it at the night event center that has, we have the infrastructure for something that would look good on TV, it's not just on the streets. Some cities, they host this on the street, in a parking lot. We have the infrastructure. This is unprecedented for the state. We can do it.
No, I agree. Just one last thing is, and it's getting more back to what Rick was saying on, we have these different plots of special event funding. Sometimes we even have some leftover that unused, opportunity fund, and again, they all kind of fall with different definitions. Is there anything remaining from the current special event funding bucket that
Yes,
didn't get used?
there is currently some contingency fund left in this fiscal year. Budget.
Do we?
Christina, would that be, the special event funding is for marketing? What their costs that they're looking for might not fit. Maybe I'll look at Mike and or Courtney of opportunity fund.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, because special
By
events is
definition.
specific for marketing. Opportunity fund is different, or where maybe Mr. Lurka kind of, if we were looking at funding this, and I do want to ask real quick, to follow up on Richard's doing all our math here, because he's our numbers guy, our finance guy. You have other costs you don't, I don't know what other, do you have costs that you're going to need to be paying to the city of Sparks for setup, for security, there's those other ancillary costs are not fully dialed in. So
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah.
minimum 50, could be a little more.
Yeah, and I have a meeting, I believe, on April 4th, with the city to kind of see where we lie with all of our fees and things like that. And then, like I said, we do anticipate those ancillary costs like Sandy huts and whatever else we need to bring in to make the venue appropriate for public. And then Mr. Squaga, to answer your question on the time, I couldn't agree with you more. We initially had planned to do this in September. We had dates lined up, we were ready to go, and then at the last second, they pulled the dates and said, actually, we want you to do it in May. So we were kind of like, okay, now we're under the gun. So I agree with you 100%. We are a little behind and we wish we had a little more lead time, but that's how we ended up with the May dates.
Okay. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to your point, the city of Reno, when I worked there ages ago, we used to give in-kind sponsorship. So maybe the city of Sparks, that could be their contribution as some sort of in-kind for the cost of the street, the cost of the police. We used to give a percentage, and you have an amazing events manager, Rochelle, and then hopefully she can help with, Raquel, excuse me, she can help with planning this and supporting this event. But that would be how I see the city of Sparks, giving a little bit of love to this event.
Mr. Chip.
Thank you. Follow up on Commissioner Hill. City of Reno, there is a committee there that was established this year for special event funding. We've got about $200,000 a year that we put into events like this. I know it's probably late right now because we're kind of past it, but I would, recommend definitely going to City of Reno. I don't know if Sparks has anything similar. But,
You don't want to know our deficit right now, so.
well, yeah, I get that part. But, I would recommend going to the city, like you said, Michelle, because we just awarded almost 110,000 out just recently for different events. So I think because this is kind of a Reno, Sparks, Northern Nevada, Washoe County you know, everybody's gonna benefit from this, that might be a, you know, and if you want to afterwards, I'll give you my card and tell you how you can maybe try working to get other ones for you as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Mr. Murdock?
Have you invited Truckee Meadows and Reno Fire and the airport fire to compete?
Yes,
So that really would, that would really tie the whole region together, all those fire departments and
oh, yeah, it's open to everybody.
Carson City Fire.
Yeah, I sent out an email probably 3 weeks ago to all department heads, like all the fire chiefs
Great.
in the valley, like even up at the lake, everywhere, saying, you know, this is what we're doing. I'm actually gonna push it out again because I think when I sent that out, the link to register wasn't open yet. It's now open. So I created a QR code and we already, Yazir created a flyer. So my plan next week is to basically travel to all the different stations and pass out flyers. And then again, I'll push out that email with the link for people to register. But yeah, everybody has known about it.
You know, Tyler, might be good, like, again, to work with Christina, who's an expert on all this stuff and has the streams to get this out. You might pick up something if you get with her right away and help you guys this year and then for next year for sure.
Okay.
Get the RSCVA behind this, because if RSCVA goes to DC and brings the national or the world fire, you know, the national fires, you might get different conventions that are spin-offs of this and they come out. So it's just an opportunity for this region.
Mr. East?
So help me understand some of the relationships a little bit better. The way I understand it, I think, is first responder is the sort of the umbrella 501c3, and they're the ones that have the relationship with ServPro. They're the ones that have that.
Correct.
So they're getting money from you to put the event on, and they're getting money from ServPro as their primary sponsor.
Correct. Our funds are 50% of what's needed, and then the title sponsor covers the other 50%.
Whose responsibility is it typically to handle the out-of-market advertising, which is something that we're all going to want and encourage in future years, if not this one, because we're less than 60 days out, right?
Yeah.
But tell us about how that works in your experience, if you know.
To be honest with you, I don't know 100% because again, this is our first year. This is why I asked Russell, like, once this gets closer, how do we market this to outside?
Especially when they bumped you up, right?
Yeah.
Made you take an earlier date than you want.
Yeah, so, and his answer was they push it out hard on their social medias. And then they do a couple of flyers, television ads, things like that to those outside states. And like I said, a lot of the competitors that are coming to these are competitors that have been doing this for years. And so it just kind of spread word of mouth over time. But yes, that's my best guess on the out-of-state marketing, being that this is kind of new for us. And
Is this the only, when they rebranded, it gave me the impression that perhaps they were splitting off and there are multiple brands out there doing this. Is that true or no? Is this the only one?
correct. This is
Okay.
the only one that's still in existence. They took it over, First Responder Institute took it over, and they said, we weren't getting good turnout. Attendance was low. What can we do to change it? So they took it over, they rebranded it, they brought in somebody from marketing and said, is there something that we could do that makes this sound better? That's when they eliminated the word combat, because they did a survey. People were like, firefighters are doing combat, what's going on? So, and that's when they created the leagues and the divisions, and then the 5 regional events versus the 10 to 12 different events throughout the country. So, First Responder Institute is essentially the first 501c3 umbrella company that owns and runs this event. And then when they have regional events and things like that, the money that they collect from them, that 50% covers the cost of doing business.
Okay. What I'd like to see in future years, because you talked about, spectator and attendance being low, that's going to be critical. There is only, especially on a regional level, there's only a finite number of people that are going to want to participate in an event like this in terms of participants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to come back to how you can garner enough interest to get spectators to want to come for this in order to truly make this an event that, would be akin to our name, right? Our, convention and visitors. So, yeah. So I guess in future years, if we decide you want to do this again, I'd like to see what the plan is to raise that awareness and that participation or, interest by visitors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And Tyler, on the, obviously, bringing more visitors here, bringing more competitors here, name, the name recognition of our region, promoting that. The event itself too, and you touched on it just a little bit, and Commissioner Hill kind of touched on it, is really when you have an event like that and the community knows and they can come and bring their families, at no cost. You have the junior division, is something that will benefit fire departments all around the country, and here specifically for recruitment, for getting people interested and excited, just like when you guys go out and you've got all your equipment at any event that we have, and all the families and kids and young adults come and they want to see the kind of things you do. And when you do like pancake breakfast at the fire station, the amount of young kids, but even older ones, ultimately, it also can help in your recruitment efforts of getting people a pipeline of people who want to become firefighters, correct?
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to really tailor this towards a community-based event with PR informational booths of different local public safety agencies. So again, that's why we want to have a fire department booth, a police booth, Renza, we have the Forest Service coming out. And yeah, it is that PR informational, but also recruitment as well. Come see what we're doing, look at our event, but come talk to us. And if you have any questions, I know we just did a big career day at Spark High School, I think last week, which was a huge success. We had a great turnout. And then this Saturday, we're actually doing a fundraising event at Shields, where we're going to display our new aerial apparatus to the community. And again, we're trying to raise money for this event that we're bringing. So, but yeah, it is trying to make it a community-based event as much as possible.
Okay. I don't see any other questions.
The only thing just to add to Mr. East, I do think while they're here, and I'm stating the obvious, so we're open, but I do think not missing that opportunity to sit with them saying, look, because this is a one-time event, doesn't mean a whole lot, no offense. But this as a stepping stone, obviously we can grow it. It's like, so we're an event capital, and what we're good at is really taking a seed idea. And I don't care if it's Hot August Nights or the Italian Fest or Rib Cook-Off, and taking something and really, and we've had we've been personally involved with ones that don't work, right? And you go, okay, we give it a good shot. And then there's others that have taken off, and it has a seed of an idea. But I think the key is, it'd be great to sit down with these organizers while they're here to say, look, we're here for the long. We're not, I know it went from Murray City to wherever, but how do we get in that rotation where we really are known for, and I agree with you, I think the venue that's built with the Nugget Amphitheater, it lends itself so nicely compared to probably what other areas they're in, so.
Yeah.
Concerned that we're, with the short window that they're going to, right, we're setting ourselves up for, hey, geez, we had a short window, but participation was low, and so I think you're right. We should sit down with them and say, look, we were willing to take the cram down on this one, the short window, this time, but in the future, if we schedule this out, we can make this, we've got the participation and the sponsorship and the backing of our communities to be able to make this an event that we can build upon if you treat us like a partner.
Right, and we agree with you on that, and I think that if we can show them on this one, that yes, we can logistically support this event, we can financially support this event. I think moving forward, there is no rotation, okay, next it's gonna go here for the regional event, or next, it's basically like, if you wanna host it, let us know, here's the contract, sign it, pay it, and you're hosting. So it's one of those things where we can let them know, if, again, you guys come and check it out and meet with Russell Jackson and Melissa Campbell, and say, this is something we want to definitely grow, and we want to be the first ones, knocking on the door. I think we can make that happen for sure.
Let me add that we have a huge challenge when it comes to the general public knowing about it and attending, because we are firefighters. We're event planners, and we are stepping up. We're pulling the hose, dragging it down. Obviously, we need help in this community. If they learn about this initiative, if they show up every year, and it's like opening the World Cup or something. It's important.
Use the RSCVA, because they can go national with their contacts. Their contacts could help your contacts to add more contacts. And then you get to your big event or the regionals, okay?
We're not firefighters, but we're event planners.
Yeah. We are.
Mr. Largetta, did you need to weigh in on this before I'm looking for a motion as far as the fiscal side of this?
Sure.
Or do I need to talk to Courtney or?
Sure,
Both
thank
of
you,
you.
Madam Chair. First of all, thank you, gentlemen, for coming today. Great conversation, great dialogue. And just listening to the board members' comments and questions, to Christina's point, I think we'd be looking at if the board was to fund this, would come either out of the booking incentive through the sales department, or it would come through the event opportunity fund, because it's a new event. And we have looked into hosting the World in the past, and the sponsorship ask was a little bit higher than we would generally pursue for the number of room nights generated. That being said, to some of the comments that are made today, if we could identify other sponsors to contribute to reduce that fund, then it becomes viable from our standpoint of allocating sponsorship dollars based on the room nights. So I think it falls on the line of growing this event, getting behind the event, pursuing the opportunity on nationals and on the world side. We have established criteria on the sales side in terms of what we fund and how much based on room nights. So it's like Mr. Murdoch said, this is kind of a hybrid between a new event and a potential convention that could grow every year to something else. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mayor Sheedy?
Yeah, thanks so much. Let's see. Okay, first of all, love firefighters. Thanks for your service and everything you do. I'm so very grateful. So thank you. Great presentation. I think Rick is right. Like, this is between a startup and something that could really grow. And we are really good at doing the big events. So, and I think you just mentioned, getting together with whoever the founder is of the event or, organizer. I think that's also something we would really like to be a part of, because obviously the more room nights we can generate and flights and those kinds of things, we are really good at that, like Steven said. So I think we would love the opportunity to be able to put this on a much bigger stage. I also think that we have to, and this is more for the board, understand like which events fall under what. Like, I see this as a community event, community sponsorship event. And I think those are really important too. One of the things I don't think that we've done, and we don't do them a lot. So sometimes I think that we are a little out of the box. And I know, this board has been very supportive on being out in the community and understanding, being a little bit more branded so people know that the RSCVA is a good partner. And what I mean by that is anytime we have a sponsorship, I think there has to be something tied to it in the sense of a branding opportunity. Like when, you go out and sponsor a little league field or a little league team, they're wearing your jersey or, something to that capacity. So I'd love to see it tied to a branding opportunity in some way. And I would imagine, Christina, you're the guru when it comes to social media. And I don't think, what are, I guess, girls gonna love more than, having a great sizzle reel on our on our social media for this type of event, right? So I'd like to see some of that like looped in so we can really leverage if we're, going to do this. But I also think the board needs to have a conversation, and maybe that's at budget time, because that's around the corner. Where we put these different buckets in, because they look different and they have different outcomes. Because like Rick said, he brought up a good point that most of what we do is heads and beds. And so I think we want to shoot for the stars on the bigger opportunity, but we also want to be a great community partner as well. So, I want to support this. So if you need me to make a motion, or if you have other board members that like to speak, let me know.
Mayor, it looks like if you want to make the motion, I don't see any other hands going up. I'd be happy.
I will motion to approve, Madam Chair. Motion to approve. And then let's tie in with Christina to figure out what kind of sponsorship or, branding side of our CVA we can leverage. But if you guys could get us in front of your national committee, I think that would be where the biggest opportunity is. But we want to support you guys, and we thank you for your service. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Second the motion.
Oh, okay. the attorney's whispering in my ear over here. Madam Mayor, on your motion, can you, be specific to approve for the full 35,000?
Yes, we will, I'm going to make a motion to approve the full sponsorship of 35,000.
Thank you so much. And I have a second by Mr. J.
Yes.
Do I have any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We got everybody online too? Eddie, Greg?
I heard Eddie. I think that was Eddie.
Okay. Motion
Approved.
carries unanimous.
Mr. Long.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Long. We got Eddie and we got Mayor. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And then we'll be in touch. I'll have you in touch with Christina and with Mike, and we'll work together moving forward. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Sure. I think Eddie.
Eddie, did you have a comment?
No, Madam Chair, I had a question for staff and you about just sort of these items as they come to the agenda.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Madam Chair, my question is, it sounded like that this specific firefighter request was a little bit more urgent because of the last minute opportunity. I'm interested in what is the process that we as a board go through in deliberating requests that come to us? Do we have generally a subcommittee that reviews it? Is this different because because of the urgency? It's happening like next month. But do we generally have a process that when an organization requests funds from the RSCVA, does it go to a special event subcommittee? I know I think I'm on a subcommittee. I guess I'm asking for staff and for you to provide guidance on what's the process, because, one, I know that in any sort of other deliberative board or quasi-governmental board, right, you have a subcommittee that might review it and provide recommendations to the board with the guidance and the information that they got in the discovery phase. So I'm looking more for a discussion around the process of how we get these projects put in front of us, or is it just always going to be one-offs that will come onto the agenda prior to us participating?
I was going to answer, but I've got my attorney sitting right here who's been sitting in this seat longer than I have, of what the process is, because we have many different legs on it right now, and growing with the opportunity fund, special event funding, with one-off funding, and maybe Ben can give, and then Mike, if you have anything to add to that, because and the mayor did bring up on our budgeting process, and we talked about community funding. I've talked about that as we go into our next budget cycle for things, whether it's utilizing our facilities when there's smoke or there's weather. I mean, there are a lot of different areas we want to address, and then how we do that. So can you add that, Mr. Kennedy?
Sure. So I can say the board, it was probably maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, actually adopted an unsolicited solicitation process for when we get these requests. So, we have our special event funding where we go out and solicit applications. And then sometimes we just get somebody that comes and asks for funding sort of out of the blue. So we do have a policy where that, goes through the CEO and the factors that they look at in deciding whether it makes sense to sponsor that. I think to your point, this particular ask, just the timeliness, it just came straight to the board. But we do have a policy. And as we were having this discussion, I actually made a note on that policy and maybe to consider wrapping that into sort of the broad rewriting of the board policies, just so it's sort of front and center. But there is a policy out there.
Mr. Larragetta, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Larragetta for the record. Thank you for the question, Mr. Adlisser. So we have, to Mr. Kennedy's point, we have defined criteria as it relates to sales, events, special events, event opportunity that are defined, and there's certain criteria that have to be met. We have talked about internally as senior staff, as we approach this next budgeting cycle, of identifying a line item, and to Mr. Kennedy's point, looking at the board policies and trying to really
defined what would qualify or not qualify based on criteria that's established for that specific line item. Because as you can imagine, we get a significant amount of requests for funding. And I think this also comes down to setting the agenda and what we put on the agenda. And perhaps, I mean, this is obviously a great event, has great potential, could grow, but under the preview of the CEO and their signing authority, this is something that probably we could resolve prior to even coming to the board moving forward.
Mr. Abelsar, did that answer your question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Ben, I would just ask, can you forward the policy just so that we have it? I mean, I know that we're all doing a lot of work on reforming and like cleaning up our board policies so that we have processes that I think are transparent and reasonable for our interactions. So it'd be great. I didn't see that in the board policies that you sent for us. So whatever you have available, can you send to the board so that we can review it? Again, it's a noble cause. I'm not disparaging the work that they're doing, and we're going to have, you know, opportunities like this to fund. My concern is we can't fund everyone, right? And so we have to understand the value of what they bring to the region and sort of the purpose there. So I'm interested in the unsolicited solicitation of funds to RSCVA policy, but I'm also interested in the other requests that we get. Do they go to subcommittee? Does subcommittee work on those? You know, maybe it's something that's years in advance. How do we contemplate that? And I'd like to see a process, that process in policy as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. And Mr. Kennedy will get that out. And those will be broader discussions too as we go into budget. Okay, looks like we closed item. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Murdoch.
I think it's actually critical now. We're at the crossroads where we've got budgets. I'd ask Courtney to tell us where our budgets are going because, you know, during downturns or upturns, I mean, we've got a lot of asks for a lot of money. I really believe we have to go back. What is our core mission? What does the RSCVA supposed to be doing with their funds? It is room tax dollars that are generated by obviously room nights. I think it's critical that we get to a place where we address any asks and what are the guardrails? Where are we going here? I mean, we can't keep doing one-offs for X amount of dollars. It's just not making a lot of sense to me. And especially when you look at the different jurisdictions, different ideas, everybody's coming for everybody's wallet. I mean, this seems to me like you really need, and I would implore Ben to we got to get a little more serious this because if the RSCVA were to take a hit somewhere in room nights or God forbid we run into any kind of a downturn, we've got to have money. I mean, and be able to do it. And our core mission is, like you say, is heads and beds. So I think we've got to get back to basics on this. And I'm really looking forward to, until we get that policy, I won't award any monies. I want to know what is our policy? What are we doing going forward? And I'm not opposed. I think a lot of the asks are for great things. But what is our policies? And, you know, we're not the never-ending piggy bank and a lot of us are hoteliers that produce a lot of money. And I just think we got to get back to what is the core mission here and how are we gonna go forward? Because again, until we get a policy, I'm not into giving anybody any money right now because there's too many big asks out there. So I'm just calling it out in the room. We got to get something squared away here really soon. Thank you.
Okay. And I agree, we really, it gives us an opportunity, actually a greater opportunity since we are going to go in to board policy that hasn't been updated since 2017. When I looked at that, it's a while. So really looking, and this gives us an opportunity with a policy that is there that Mr. Kennedy will send us of relooking at the board policy to update, to clean those up, but to look at the bigger picture. And we've already seen the time I've been on this board, you've had the special events funding, which is for marketing. That's been there for quite a while. You know, the sales department, your criteria, and then we added the opportunity funding. And then we increased the airport, for air service that we support to bring, so we've been able to, but you're right, Rick, we're also looking at a budget that in our pre-boards, Courtney said, we're looking at 7% lower budget. So the money is not never ending, but I think it's a great time and opportunity as we look at our board policy and then what the community asks have been, and a lot of things we've just kind of reacted to. And a great example would be utilization of our facilities when it was needed for the fire, for power outages, for smoke. That still cost us something, and we didn't have anything set up on how we just, met that need, but I think now's a really good time that we can set that up, and then we know, we have guidelines, because I agree, we need to have guidelines set, so we know it's easier to make those decisions.
Madam Chair, what is 7% to us? Is that, Courtney, what do you estimate? 3.5?
So yeah, compared to fiscal year 2023, it'd be down about 3.
That's significant. I mean, I think we really got to grab a hold of this.
So, to kind of expand on that 7% and, being an economist by, bachelor's, graduate school, 30 years in finance, I know a little bit about numbers. Are you factoring in the possibility of a recession?
We are, yeah, especially with it being an election.
Good. We know what the markets do in the election year and the year after, which are positive. So that's good for that. But, and technically we've had 2 recessions the last couple of years, but the new definition of recessions have kind of changed. But I always want to plan for the worst, hope for the best. And if we do figure that it's going to be down 7%, maybe we're only down 2. That's great, but I don't want us to be at a point where we budget for 7 or 5 and we're down 10 or 11. I'd rather err on the side of caution. Just go into this cautiously, anticipating a recession, which doesn't look like it'll be this year, 35% chance for next year, but, I'm glad and I knew you would, you've got this figured out, but we have a recession. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if we budget accordingly, we'll be able to go through it just fine. That's my only comment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and close E1, moving on to E2. Review, discussion, and possible action to approve funding for the exhibit Deep Time Sea Dragons of Nevada. We're being asked to review, discuss, and possibly take action to approve a request by the Nevada Museum of Art for sponsorship of the new exhibit Deep Time Sea Dragons of Nevada in an amount not to exceed $350,000. And we have several presenters from the museum here. And I'm not sure who's going to start with. David Walker. Oh, okay. And before, Mr. Walker, if you'd like to come up, but before you present, Mr. J has a statement he needs to read.
Yeah, thanks very much. March 28, 2024, due to a conflict of interest with agenda item 3, E2, donation to the Nevada Museum. After researching with my compliance division and the RSCVA General Counsel and pursuant to NRS 281AC, public officer's comments in a private capacity in the interest of another person, and the fact that I represented an entity that could have a significant interest in the museum, I must recuse myself from any discussion and voting. Please enter this in the record, and I've already given the clerk a copy of this.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, welcome, Mr. Walker.
Working? No, okay. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Great. Good morning, Chair and Councilwoman Bybee, Vice Chair Mayor Sheevy, if you're still on the line, and Washoe County Commissioner Hill, RSCVA directors and staff. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm David Walker. I'm the CEO of the Nevada Museum of Art. Thank you for inviting us. We have a unique promotional partnership opportunity to share with you. I'm with Chief Curator and Associate Director Ann Wolf, who you're going to hear from in a moment. Also Tim O'Brien, who was our longtime creative director in residence, and also our public relations collaborator, Don Vetter, a Vetter PR back here. So we're going to tag team a little bit. Hope that's all right with you. The Nevada Museum of Art is currently making a $60 million investment in the community with the construction of a 50,000 square foot Charles and Stacy Mathewson Education and Research Center. Upon completion, This art world splash promises to garner international stories and attract large numbers of out-of-market visitors to our region. Now, to put a fine point on this, we're organizing a perfect runway, Deep Time Sea Dragons of Nevada, a 14-month blockbuster exhibition that will dazzle guests and celebrate our trailblazing state. Leveraging RSCVA financial participation and, of course, your marketing expertise will ensure 100,000 ichthyosaur presentation, tourism bonanza for Reno Sparks. Chief Curator and Associate Director Ann Wolf is behind this extraordinary undertaking. Ann organized our current Sagebrush and Solitude Maynard-Dixon in Nevada exhibition, which, by the way, is already attracting guests from all over the United States, Europe, and Canada. You may remember her extremely popular Tahoe, A Visual History, that ran through 2015. And of course, the 36-star Nevada's Journey from Territory to State that featured the original Emancipation Proclamation from Washington, D.C. So first up will be our Chief Curator, Ann Wolf.
Thank you, David, and thanks to all of you for having us here today. As David mentioned, I do come to the table with our blockbuster exhibitions, which are different animals, so to speak. When we put together exhibitions, they're intended to draw not only families and visitors from our community, but out the market as well. So we think we have a real major project here. I'm going to ask my two helpers to come up. I brought a special guest to introduce.
Is this 175 pounds? Hold on.
This is
Bill.
This is the last of an original fossil that was excavated in 2015 in the Augusta Mountains. It's 250 million years old. And it's from an animal, an ichthyosaur, which is a marine reptile that is approximately, the scientists believe, approximately 60 feet long. So there's a huge giant animals. And when this debuted scientifically, it made articles in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And you guys can put it down. All over Europe. So I wanted to share this with you because this is a cast. We will have original fossils and specimens in this exhibition. But just one example of the scale the exhibition we're putting together. So the exhibition is called Deep Time, Sea Dragons of Nevada. And as I mentioned, this specimen was excavated in the Augusta Mountains, which is a place right in the center of Nevada, about halfway between Middlegate and Lovelock on the Dixie Valley Road. I doubt any of you have been to this site because it's really, really high up. I want to introduce you to Dr. Martin Sander in a short 1-minute video clip, because we just produced a documentary, a short, about 7-minute documentary. I'm going to show you a little clip of that that really takes you into our desert. This global story is unfolding.
We're starting here at about 249 million years, and we're ending at about 244. So the youngest ichthyosaurs are 244. We have to find the gray ledge first, and then we have to look through the 1,000 feet of brownish rock. And that's where our ichthyosaurs are. This monster from the deep just sort of lying in front of us. And we can see a complete rib cage, and right now we're working on trying to get out the skull. The skull or the head is really kind of what tells us what kind of animal it was. But one thing is pretty obvious already, simply from the size of the hole. This thing was big. When I see a skeleton emerging from the rock, that is really something beautiful. The joy of discovery and the joy of understanding and the joy of hypothesizing what might this be in the rock, and then it emerges and then you understand what it is.
So that was Dr. Martin Sander. He's the chief paleontologist on this project with me and also my co-curator, and he's based at the University of Bonn in Germany. This is the team that's putting this exhibition together. We brought in a very well-known designer named Nick Hockermoss from Berlin, Germany. You might see a lot of Europeans involved here, and that's because we know that Nevada and our desert and our Southwest is a huge draw for European audiences. And so we know that there's a particular aesthetic we want to achieve in this exhibition that's not just your typical natural history museum exhibition. We are an art museum, and so this team's been working for about 3 years now to put together really, truly an experience for visitors that will be very unique, and I'm going to share some of that with you now, but also what we say in the museum field will lead to repeat visitation. So not only amongst our families, but from out of the area as well. So long before humans walked this earth, Nevada was submerged between the waters of an ancient sea, which was the home of the ichthyosaur. And we tell the story of their discovery. Nevada is one of the richest deposits of ichthyosaur fossils in the world. I should say it's the richest deposit. So there's other excavations taking place in the UK, China, and Thailand, but Nevada has more of these marine reptiles embedded in our mountain ranges and deserts than anywhere else. And it's these animals, the ichthyosaurs, that really will guide our journey into deep time, 250 million years ago. And just to give you a cue, this was the time of Pangea, a supercontinent where it was all underwater still. So we're not talking about 10,000 years ago, we're talking about 250 million years ago. So again, we're creating an experience in our galleries. So to enter into this exhibition, you must pass through this amazing installation by an artist, Anthony McCall. It's sort of like a time machine. There's haze and there's light and there's darkness. Anthony McCall has 2 solo shows simultaneous to this right now at the Tate Britain and the Guggenheim Bilbao. So that's the caliber of artist that opens this exhibition. And you can imagine families, art school tours, walking through this 1,500 square foot gallery, really transporting them to a different time and place, a place of deep time and a place of this ancient ocean. So as you get into the gallery, you ask a lot of questions about these animals. What are these animals? Why do they have such big eyes? What did they eat? All of those basic questions that we're all curious about paleontology. So there's, an essence of natural history museum exhibition here. And here's an amazing 7-foot fossil specimen that will be in the exhibition that's coming from the University of California Museum of Paleontology at Berkeley. What people don't know here is that most of Nevada's fossils are now hidden away in the basements and storerooms of museums across the country. So most of them are excavated on BLM land, and then they have to go to a federal repository. So there's hundreds of skeletons that should be here for our community to share and to enjoy. But this one, for example, I found hanging on the wall in a big storeroom under UC Berkeley's Natural Sciences Museum. And no one had even thought to think, maybe the community should know about this. So we also want to bring these animals to life. This specimen is about 7 to 8 feet long, but these animals could grow to about 85 to 100 feet. And so we've commissioned a major artist out of Southern California, Ivan Cruz, to create this 3D animated, motion activated ichthyosaur that, if you've been to our galleries, will swim across this 84-foot wall. Your movement activates this animal. You're in underwater, an underwater sea and ocean, and then this animal responds. So it doesn't just swim across the wall, but it moves and it reacts to what you're doing. Sometimes there's a school of ichthyosaurs that comes through. So we really want to bring this animal. Here is another presentation of what the gallery will look like. You see these beds of sand where these original fossil specimens will lie. Right there in the front, a 33-foot fossil specimen that was excavated at Fossil Hill, right outside of Winnemucca in 1905. And we marched through this era of discovery, starting in the Humboldt Range in 1905 to Berlin, the story of Berlin's Ichthyosaur State Park in the 1950s, and then the Augusta Mountains, where a lot of this research is happening today. Here's some of the specimens that we'll have on view. Hopefully your curiosity is just getting the best of you, but these are from museums all over the country. And each of these fossils unlocks amazing stories that have been told. And just to give you a sense of the caliber of where these fossils are coming from, here's where they're housed. And here's what we've been spending the last 2 to 3 years negotiating loans of these fossil specimens to bring to Reno for about 14 months when this exhibition is on view. So major museums across the country, all with very strict guidelines for loans, et cetera. Here's some more of those fossil examples that we'll have. One of particular interest is the vertebra on the left that was excavated in the Humboldt Range in 1868 by Clarence King as part of the U.S. Geological Survey of the 40th parallel. It's a really historical artifact, even though it's hard to see that it's an ichthyosaur vertebra. And there's some just amazing specimens, all again with their own stories. And so as you walk through the gallery, we introduce this story of this Triassic Ocean 250 million years ago, and you can see the feel that we're going for, this very immersive, immersive environment that has treasures around every single corner. These are about 300 ammonites coming from the Calgary Academy of Sciences in San Francisco that were excavated in 1905. These were the foodstuffs of ichthyosaurs, and these are have never been shown before, these treasures. We also have a special opportunity to highlight the importance of women in science and encouraging young girls to become scientists. And we do that by introducing Annie Alexander, who's a name that you probably don't know, but who was one of Nevada's first female paleontologists. She was from the Bay Area, and she helped to lead the 1905 Saurian expedition to Fossil Hill near Winnemucca, where they excavated 25 ichthyosaur skeletons in 1905. And so we want her to be as famous as Great Britain's Mary Anning, that our kids in schools here are now reading about, but nobody knows about Annie Alexander. So we'll introduce her through her personal effects, her hiking boots, the skeletons that she excavated, as well as this amazing children's book that we're publishing that will be distributed to the elementary schools throughout the state, as well as the library system. So here's some of the samples from that. So you can see how these exhibitions have legs beyond just the exhibition. They really help to reframe the narrative of Nevada's history and to introduce stories that have not really been told before. A big part of this is also the history of Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park. One of the things we're working on, and that we're talking right now to Travel in Nevada about, is creating a paleontology passport. And so that your visit to the Nevada Museum of Art is just one stop on a journey across the state. And so we have probably collated about 20 different localities that can be visited if you're a fossil enthusiast. And I guarantee it, there's fossil enthusiasts out there and dinosaur enthusiasts. And so you can kind of imagine this as the first stop where you're grounded in this story of Nevada and its paleontology significance, but then you continue that trip throughout northern Nevada and even further afield to Berlin here, as well as to Las Vegas. And so we talk about the history of Berlin, how it's home to 40 ichthyosaur fossils that still remain in the ground, all of these historical artifacts that we're able to include. So you can see how this is a 9,000 square foot exhibition, and there's many, many stories to tell. Of course, the link between paleontology, science, and art and design is a strong one, and we want to emphasize that. And so, we have a big section of the exhibition dedicated to paleo art. And the way that how we understand these animals has evolved over time, how scientists and artists have always worked together to, you find a bone in the desert, and then you have to imagine, based on data, what this animal could have looked like. And so these are just images dating back to the 1850s of how artists and scientists have always collaborated to sort of give us, the general public, a sense of really what these animals were and what they did. And of course, we also just want to create this immersive experience in our gallery so that we don't just have fossils under pedestals. And so an entire sort of 1/3 of the exhibition is dedicated to ichthyosaurs in the imagination and how do we encourage curiosity in our visitors. And so what you're seeing here is this long hallway, and what's hanging from the ceiling are thousands of dinosaur toys. And as when you walk through this hallway, there's lights that flicker on and off as though you're walking through this time tunnel. And this collection of dinosaur toys is very special because it was amassed by a young boy starting in the 1950s whose family took him to Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park when it first opened. And this becomes, over those many years since then, one of the nation's largest collections of vintage toy dinosaur and prehistoric creature toys. And so all of these will be on view in this exhibition as part of this kind of immersive experience that we're trying to create. And I just want to leave you with this amazing quote. You know, I get asked a lot, why is an art museum putting together an exhibition on marine reptiles, prehistoric creatures, dinosaurs? And it's because really at the heart of it, science is driven by beauty. And this is something that my co-curator, Mark Sander, mentioned once. And we really think that this exhibition, for so many reasons, has legs in our community, but it's also, as David mentioned, the perfect runway to opening this brand new Charles and Stacy Mathewson Education and Research Center, because it's these kind of interdisciplinary links that the museum is all about, and that we really try to emphasize and encourage in our work. So that is the end of my presentation, and I'm going to pass it over to the promotional side.
Thank you. Pretty great, huh? Okay, promotional partnership, 250 million years in the making. That's us, right? We do have a history. Our two entities have been longtime partners in the branding arena. Sparks and Lake Tahoe as a cultural tourism destination. In every case, we have succeeded in showcasing how our cultural offerings can drive destination visitation. In 2003, when we opened our current building, featured a blockbuster Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. Came to talk to you back then, and RSCVA stepped up as a lead sponsor. Promotion included 5 local hotel casinos, Southwest Airlines, American Express, and Disney Miramax. The outcome was $1.2 million in tourism revenue to Reno and more than 1,800 total nights. And then 2 years later, we came back to you when we wanted to present the next Bill Parrish, Master of Make-Believe. I once again lead sponsor RSCVA, and again, promotion included 4 local hotel casinos, American Express and Macy's in San Francisco. And the focus of that campaign was our LGBTQ tourism market, and that proved to be quite successful. Now, we haven't come back since then, nearly 20 years, to talk to you about Blockbuster, so we're really happy to be doing that today. Now I'm going to hand it over to Don Vetter.
So let's fast forward to today. And I just want to start by talking, I'm going to use the word alignment a lot. Aligning with your brand building blocks, which is right there in your visitor profile study. So we're easy to visit. We have a good out of region visitation. We hit the bread and butter of Sacramento and Bay Area, which has been a long time in place of visitorship in our region. And word of mouth matters. 67% likely to refer friends and family. And this aligns with your potential visitor profile study that you want word of mouth via friends. You get 50% of your travel. So basically, this is a part of the building block that could help with your marketing efforts to enhance visibility in news articles and online search. As Ann went through it, this is a target-rich story. So what's the motivation for? I mean, they want to see a specific exhibit, and they visit to achieve personal fulfillment. And I think that's important when you look at, again, the alignment with perception of experience here. You want to increase visibility through those experiences. This exhibit is part of the abundance, quality, and uniqueness of the experiences available to the Reno Tahoe visitor. And again, I'm quoting right from your own visitor survey. So one of your targets is the millennials and Gen X. So that's a big portion of the museum visitors and your profile is you're targeting this demo. Millennials make a significant portion of their audience, and they look to splurge on experiences that allow them to live life to the fullest. We believe this exhibit is the first step to a great Nevada adventure, and our visitors can afford it. I think it's not just a one and done. They're not just going to come here with the exhibit. They have disposable income, so they can check out the exhibit, go down to Midtown, check out all the other amenities, all the other assets that you have that you are trying to capture on this. So, what we do here is we create for you an only in Nevada experience that is one of your brand buildings.
We're going to show you something most of you know about. It's just south of the Welcome to Las Vegas sign in Las Vegas.
project we produced with the artist Hugo Rondinone back in 2016. This was a $3.5 million project. And to date, we see anywhere between 1,000 and 1,200 visitors a day. It was supposed to be a 2-year project, and here it is, it's still alive. So we were able to get the RSCVA and Clark County Parks and Rec to remain with us to underwrite the annual cost of this wonderful project. So the point in this project is sharing it with you, and there's going to be more to talk about in the year ahead about the potential of where Seven Magic Mountains might end up next. But I just wanted to point out that our museum does have great experience producing arts and cultural projects that contribute to Nevada's tourism industry. Tim?
Still me?
Oh, is that done?
Yeah, don't drop the tongue. Okay. You know, it can only happen here, just like Seven Magic Mountains. You know, Deep Time is a story that no one else can tell. No one else has these ichthyosaurs that kind of washed ashore in an ancient sea. So if there was a positioning statement, speak, for this exhibit, it's Deep Time is a content-rich exhibition brimming with engaging stories, unique people, and hidden landscapes, and had to go to basements in the middle of Berkeley to find these things, and that connect with families, outback travelers, science explorers, and out-of-country tourists. I think that's right in your wheelhouse. And a visit to Deep Time can be added to the itinerary of regional visitors to Yosemite, Mammoth, Tahoe, Burning Man, or even a day of rest with a Sierra ski adventure. So it's part of that building block. So culture, outdoor adventure, families, three real good targets in the tourism world. So Deep Time's adventure time. Outdoor recreation accounted for more than $6.1 billion in Nevada's gross domestic product. And, you know, outdoor recreation has different categories, but again, it helps through the partnerships. We can leverage this only in Nevada. You know, basically what I envision is that Deep Time is the first step in your little adventure. You know, hey, let's build an itinerary. Let's do the Deep Time. Let's just check out Grimes Point. We can go into the caves, have a docent take us there. And then, oh, boom, down the middle gate. Let's take a little right turn. And then there we are. And then we could be back in Reno that evening, you know, with some park driving, but that's a Nevada tradition. Deep Time is culture time. Basically, it's part of a rich cultural scene. It can be part of your action item to increase awareness of nightlife, street art, museums, and festivals that portray Reno as a distinctive destination. And cultural tourism, I didn't know this till driving into this, is like, it's kind of a big deal. The UN has done studies on it, how cultural tourism is really kind of setting the precedent of driving visitors. And then I'll just down the bottom here, these travelers spend 60% more money on average than other leisure travelers. So hitting that culture button, I think is really, I think, attractive and makes this partnership really ideal. And then Deep Time's family time. Hey kids, let's see giant reptile fish that are older than dinosaurs. Sure, Dad, let's do it. So basically, you know, 37% of your travel intenders plan to visit with children. Let's see if we can pump it up a little bit. You know, this could be a family adventure. And then as Ann put it out, comes with a nice, cool book, really good art. You know, it could be part of the kids, wow, we saw it in school. Let's take a trip to the museum. Let's get to downtown. Let's spend an afternoon. And then marketing integration. I won't, or intention. I won't go too deep on this, but it's a lot of this is in your pockets. But we want to reach our target markets with impact and efficiency, and a partnership with RSCVA gives us assets that we don't have. You have the experience in this market. We can kind of hand in glove with this. So target rich meet opportunities. When Ann went through it, my God, how many stories can we do? Oh, there's too many. There's 50 stories. How do we, you know, that's the challenge. Well, not challenge. It's great to have as a PR person because I've had stories that there's no story there. We have too many stories here. We have a travel piece. We're gonna hit children and families. There's a science story. I don't know if you caught this, but there was a big, BBC did a big piece on, they found a type of ichthyosaur on the cliffs of Dover, somewhere there, and just got constant coverage, you know, of them rappelling down to get the fossil. So, and that just was really high interest, high content, or dare I say clickbait in this world. And then we have the toys, the vintage dinosaurs, another story angle. And then there's general news, national exposure, and the ichthyosaur been getting a lot of national exposure, and then the history, and then the Annie Alexander story. I think these are just, you know, real target rich. But, you know, as Stephen will say, I mean, I always bring beer into conversations, and who can, this happened about 5-6 years ago, where Dr. Sander found this fossil in the Augusta Mountains, and he didn't have a way to transport it to LA. So his pal, Tom Young, had a large truck that is used to carry beer. That could be called Icky beer. You know, he's saying the connection here. So Forbes picked this up, and Tom Young helped Dr. Sander transport this large ichthyosaur fossil to the museum. And what a great story. And I think that's why I call this target rich.
Are we, I hate to interrupt, are we getting close? Because we do have a board member who has a hard stop at 11.
Okay.
I know I want to open to questions. Can you hit some real highlights?
So the points here is that marketing, reach your audiences, hit shoulder season. We have social media, we have video storytelling, as you saw, TV, print, out of market. That's where we can use your help on this. You have the connections. And then finally, what might this look like? What might the story start off with to these markets?
Okay, you asked for short and sweet. I'm your guy.
Okay, awesome.
Typically, in my way too long career, if I were on a Thursday morning and talking to a body like this, I would be presenting an ad campaign. But I'm not doing that today. I'm here to pitch you on just the basic background, what we're working on, and our intention of what we're going to do creatively. Yes, this campaign is in progress. And we wanted to share just a few bits of, you know, we've got a heavy lift. This thing is a beautiful exhibition already. So we've got to match up to that. So just a few glimpses of what we're up to. And these are, again, representative and just for purpose of conversation today. So we want to be dynamic. We want to be surprising. We want to be bold. We want to be experiential in places that people aren't expecting to see a giant reptile swimming pool. So this is just one example, an outdoor board. Another possibility, but if you can imagine this in other mediums, digital, all sorts of digital platforms, television, this animated Leviathan straight at you. It's going to be some powerful stuff, and we've got an interesting lift because we want to go from high science to delighting little children who want it on their t-shirts. You know, so this is going to be something that I look forward to coming back, share with you, have this be something that we can celebrate together, but that we're in the works right now with this stuff. So some other tactics, we're thinking big on the promotional side too. This idea of gigantism. Can we put it on the side of a building? Can we paint a mural? Can we wrap a bus or an airplane? We're working on that. Can we bring the ichthyosaur into the airport? Don's been in contact with people at Lego Foundation, and there's a possibility of a partnership where they can come in and build a very large Lego. Talk about getting attention in press. And finally, there's the idea of making, taking Icky into a viral virtual space. You know, what if we wrote a song, an Icky song that school kids can learn, and they can have competitions. They can, all sorts of things you can do with that. And what if we work with someone, the dance department at the university, to choreograph an Icky dance that people can do, let's do the Icky. I don't know what that looks like, and don't make me try. Stephen's better at this. But it could be very viral. It could be a lot of fun, while being fascinating and serious at the same time. So with that, I'm going to quiet now.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to conclude now. Chair, so let's see what we are coming to you today with. We would like you to consider being our title sponsor, not our lead sponsor, but our sole title sponsor of this exhibition. Mindful it's going to be for 14 months. It's the most expensive exhibition we've ever produced, and we do have a national and international agenda for this exhibition. We would ask in return $350,000 cash to support the exhibition, matching shoulder season advertising placed as part of our RSCVA's annual media buy, and finally partner with comprehensive earned media campaign directed to target markets as well as the consumer and travel outlets. So let's go deep together. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to open to questions from the board. Mr. Swaga.
I'm gonna jump, and I apologize, I'm the problem with the hard stop at 11, so, and I take this serious, so I don't want to be disrespectful to your efforts, including the Tahoe group presenting after this, so I apologize. So I'll just jump in if I can, and honestly, I don't know if I'll be here for the actual vote, but, just one clarification, the $350,000 in cash, and then the other two bullet points of matching shoulder season advertising. So 350K in cash plus whatever that in that campaign could be. It's undefined, right? Correct?
Yes, and of course, we'll be spending the $350,000 cash towards our marketing efforts in-house as well.
So some of that 350 cash you'll be putting into this marketing program, and we'll be having to match that. Are there other requests at this level for partnerships that you're reaching out to the community?
We've raised $425,000 so far, so we're right in the middle of our fundraising effort for this project. Our most recent Reno Orthopedic Clinic, I think you see a nice relationship between what they do and what we're showing. They're a lead sponsor, but there is no one over the $125,000 level at this moment.
Is this going to be ready for when does your expansion open up?
The construction will be complete in December of this year, and then we will be opening in a phased manner throughout 2025.
Trying to think if I had one other. And again, I don't want to totally direct the discussion. I'm very sensitive to what Mr. Murdoch brought up in the sense of this is larger ask than we usually get presented to us for kind of an out of budget, just up or down vote on $350,000. That really concerns me, especially in light of, we've had a great run trending up. We've also had a real kind of softening flat line. We're kind of looking at each other on, we've spent the money pretty well in the past. I think we're coming to a point here of realization. Again, I don't mean it in a panic fashion, but I think we're seeing a bit of a softening. I do worry about committing $350,000 with kind of an up and down vote. Now, on the flip side, I will say, I have no question of the quality of what you do. And I mean, just to walk through on this, it's impressive. And I think, using 7 Magic Mountains as an example, even on a smaller scale, like the Monterey Aquarium, I think this is something that could really be special. I'm not as inclined as vote. I wish we didn't have to vote today. I wish there was a way to sit down around the table.
Yeah.
This is almost it's not a 3-year run, but what is it? How many months? Almost 2?
14 months.
14, okay, I'm sorry. My math is a little, but I mean, even as a 14-month run, and I don't know if there's even enough, if this were to really take off, but it's something that would get extended, but I think really sitting down with a comprehensive plan of, how do we, I think a shoulder to shoulder marketing, and I'm not trying to dodge a cash donation. It may not be 350, but I think getting everybody really shouldering up. I love some of the ideas you had on marketing it, getting the properties. I really think you obviously are building something of extreme quality that we would be proud of. I think this is the region. I just don't know if I'm comfortable saying yes or no. I hate denying it because I think honestly, I think it's very worthy of an investment from us. I just wish there was a way to get more discussion than just, you know, when I first saw it, the number was kind of staggering. As I went through your presentation, it's like, oh, this is gonna be quality. I remember the Tahoe exhibit and so many of the other projects you've done, but this really is kind of at another level. And then I'll quit my rant after this, but I really do think your whole point of, again, Rick and I and John, we have our databases, we have our marketing plans, we know how to get people to come in, and we focus on everything from conventioneers to gamblers to people that are looking for just a spa getaway. I do think your whole discussion of, you know, this easily is something that could extend a stay a day or two. And whether it's somebody that's visiting Yosemite or the Black Rock, I think this really incorporates it, and it does, that extended stay is a real benefit for us. So I see the value. I just am real hesitant of committing right now that 350 cash, but I don't want you to take that if I vote no, that's a no on the overall discussion.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah,
Steve?
sure.
That's all right.
Absolutely.
Remember, this is kind of a twofer in that we're also opening a $60 million, 50,000 square foot wing, which is also in and of itself, by itself, will be a huge international draw. And we're happy to extend sponsorship in some manner to that as well, because these things do go hand in hand. You know, we commissioned EK Consultants 10 years ago to do an economic study on our impact here in Washoe County. And 10 years ago, it was $17 million, which doesn't seem like a large number, but let me tell you, it's a lot larger today. And about half of our visitation is out of market. And so, you know, I think if you look at it as we haven't come to you in 20 years, if you look at it as a combination of 14-month blockbuster exhibition that will draw as the opening, the premier opening, doubling the size of our museum. If you put those things together, we're going to see a lot of action over a couple of years.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had the pleasure of having a sneak peek of this from the museum, and I really pushed the team. I didn't have to push the team. The team was totally there because they see the vision, and so I would like to hear from Christina on this, because I think that I saw it in Christina when we were discussing this as a potential, and I will just say there's just so much that I feel like we should really deeply consider this. This is a homegrown exhibit. It's going to create national and international attention. It'll highlight Nevada history and artwork. Think of the sesquicentennial and what they did for this community for the sesquicentennial. Feminist history, they're publishing a book. But I think that the sponsorship, when you look at it, these are travelers that may never come to Reno, that will come to Reno for this exhibit. This is a traveler who may not be, not to be insensitive, but may not be hit by the recession in a different way than another traveler. So I think we need to think about that this may create room nights for us. And so I see that it's a deal because it's a 2-year sponsorship. We're committing 175 this year and then committing another 175 in the following fiscal year. And I also think it's very Instagrammable. I see a lot of viral social, but Christina, do you mind just highlighting some of what you think the partnership could do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as Mr. Scott already mentioned, we can all, I think, see that this is a very polished and well done exhibition. And I think that there are no doubts that we will, as we have done, partner with the museum, we'll bring in influencers to promote it on social media and on their channels. We'll do out of market advertising through social media and our digital channels within our target markets in partnership with the museum. I can see that. I can see us promoting this on bleisure on those channels. The team is currently developing a very comprehensive bleisure plan right now. The earned media, the paid media. So, and that was the other thing I wanted to mention is I've already spoken with BVK about even conducting a photo shoot at the museum once the expansion opens and, bringing that photography to our ad campaign and bringing that value and showing visitors, all that there is to offer from the museum. So some of that is in the works. Yeah.
Mr. Murdoch?
Couple questions. Do you have any stats on what you've done room night wise in our community?
Sorry, I'm having trouble
Do
here.
you have any stats? How many room nights you really produce and who the people are? Do you have any data for us?
I don't have that. Amy Opio, who's our longtime promotional partnership experts in Europe right now, and she couldn't be here obviously today, so I could look into that and see what we could provide you with.
That would be nice. I think, you know, I think this is super important. I like it. I just think there's got to be better ways. 350 cash is a lot. I sit on the NCOT board. Have you talked to NCOT? NCOT, the national, you know, what they are.
Yes.
Well,
yeah, actually,
have you had them for a donation?
Yeah, we have run the same presentation by them about 2 months ago, so there's interest.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Largetta and myself, we sit on that board.
Yeah.
That's another thing, because 350 is hard to swallow. The other side of this is in kind. What can you do in kind that helps him, helps the art museum, helps the messaging, that's worth a lot of money? And Stephen mentioned, all of us have databases. Those are really important. Like I said, I think this is something important. We should somehow participate. 350 is a heavy lift. And I don't want to do anything until we get a policy. I mean, I would love to revisit this, but we need a policy. And once we get the policy, then I can feel better about. And again, I'm not opposed. I think you guys, this is wonderful for Nevada. I've lived here all my life. This is great stuff. But there is other ways to, as they say, skin the cat with financial, whether it's in kind with the RSCVA databases and things to help you with what you're trying to get to. Again, 350 is a hard, it's a big number, and we're trending the wrong way. So let's think this out and take a little time. I think as a board is what I'm recommending. But I would love it.
Perfect, thank you, Mr. Murdoch. Mr. East?
Well, I'd echo what Rick said to some degree. I guess, are there other levels of sponsorship other than the title sponsorship?
Happy to have the conversation.
Yeah, okay. Well, tell me about the total cost for the exhibition, the load in, the load out, the placement, the maintenance. Do you have a sense of what that looks like over that 14-month period?
Should I define it?
You can just ballpark it.
Yeah, well, we hired a film company, so you saw just a trailer. Well, obviously, we're working with international experts, which comes at a cost to put this together. I don't have a dollar amount for that. There's a lot of technology embedded in this exhibition, more than we've ever employed before. The shipping and the loan agreements and the insurance associated with these rare fossils that we're bringing here from around the country is a considerable expense. Let me tell you, shipping is outrageously expensive. I think we all know that. It's a big part of our budget these days. The exhibition design itself and the materials that go into that, and of course, marketing, and then there are other expenses as well. But that gives you a sense of what goes into a typical exhibition. Usually when we do a blockbuster, the budget's around $300,000. This is close to $900,000. And again, it's part of the reason we're going to have it up for 14 months.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I think it's the perfect runway to really put Northern Nevada on the map as an arts and cultural destination as we open up a new building. So,
Do you envision an admission price raise?
sorry.
Do you envision an increase in admission prices?
No.
No, so you keep it at the 15.
No, we don't do an off sale.
15, right?
Yeah, we just so you know, regionally, if you're a high school student, you get into the museum free. You are a student at UNR or TMCC, you get in free. If you're a K-12 teacher in the Washoe County School District, you get a free membership. You get your continuing education units free as well. And the second Saturday of every month families get to experience the museum and hands-on projects for free. So we make this museum incredibly accessible. I arrived in 2007. That was my number one priority, was to do that. So admission is a very small percentage of our overall annual revenue.
Yeah, I guess my concern, just to finish up here, is becoming the title sponsor and then having that money then potentially earmarked for advertising that we would then match again feels like a double dip to me. And so I think, just by our participation in this without that title sponsorship is something that I would be willing to consider. But the sponsorship.
Mr. Abelsar.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Region, and I think we tend to raise money privately. He's going to be. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, David. Go ahead, Eddie.
You can let him finish and I can go after that.
And David, why don't you finish, and then Eddie will go after you.
I was just saying that I lost my train of thought. I was jarred.
You want us to come back?
No, go ahead and continue.
Okay, we'll come back. Mr. Abelsar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the representatives of the museum coming forward and bringing this really innovative and exciting exhibit. I do want to reemphasize what I believe a couple of board members have brought up, and something as I'm new to the board and would love to learn more about our process. It appears to me that these types of requests should have a more pre-engaged process with the subcommittee. I think that having representatives of our board with staff sitting down and looking at our budget, looking at the mission and scope of this RSCVA and the relationship we can have with the Museum of Art for this exhibit, I think would be very thoughtful and considerate to the process. To that extent, I applaud the presentation. I'm not comfortable necessarily doing something today to echo Member Esquaga's comments. My inclination, should it be the desire of this board, to perhaps motion to refer to a subcommittee so that we can have a further conversation and allow the representatives of the museum, our staff, who understands the direction that this budget is going through in the next couple of months, and then come back at a later date for a review of a full proposal in conjunction with the subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Abelsar.
I don't want to cut off Member Long, but real quick, what is our budget timeline again? What are we looking at?
So we're working internally right now. We meet with the finance committee early May and then present to the board, and they have to receive the finance committee's approval on the budget. There's also going to be a presentation about capital in April in advance, so the board can weigh in on capital timelines.
I don't mean to call the question now, but even if there was a way to say, look, can we get to go through that budget workshop discussion? Again, I think there's a number of us that come forward just to say, okay, let's go with it. We don't really even know what the near future waters are. And yet on the flip side, I think it's a quality. I'd hate to lose the opportunity, because I think it really is. I think this is something this deserves the time and attention to really sit down and how would we make something like this. I'm not saying it's going to end up at 350 plus, but it may be something close, or there may be some add-ons that we're able to bring to the table that we're not getting at. But I don't know, I know you're on a timeline as well, but this isn't a perfect scenario either, having to just decide getting the material yesterday. But that's just otherwise, I hate to because I also don't want to kill it. I think we want to keep this discussion going and get somewhere close to what you're needing and because I don't question, and I know I'll fill in where you left your train of thought, was what the museum has done for the community for the 17 years. It's substantial. It's a true partnership, but I think we need to really hash out what we're looking at financially, and there's areas that we could probably shave and make, figure this thing out pretty quick, but I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Murdock.
And again, I think it moves us to get to the NCOT, to partner up here. This is a big thing that could take place, the big event in Reno. This could be put out nationally through MCOT, which provides opportunity. You should get a check from them. They do this stuff. This is what, we need this, we need as commissioners of Nevada, we need stuff like you're doing right here to be able to go get our pile of money from the state. So I think Reno deserves a shot like this, Reno Tahoe. I think that's something I really impressed. And then I'd ask the accounting department, do we do any donations now? Have we donated to the art museum?
We do, we give them $25,000 per year.
And that's just as a sponsor?
As a sponsor, yeah.
How many years have we done it?
At least the last.
So we do, right, okay, just want to make sure we're supporting the arts, because it's, okay, thank you.
The banner in the airport, when you pick up your baggage, yeah, I think that's about $100,000 a year to us. You contribute 25,000 to that.
Thank you, yeah.
Mr. Long, did you have any comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the museum is very valuable to our region, and it does bring a different type of visitor to our region, which is very valuable to us. But I agree with all the other members and their comments, especially Mr. Eblisser, about we do have to talk about these type of big expenditures beforehand.
Mayor Sheeby?
Hold on, sorry. Trying to do three things here at once. So first of all, I want to say, you know, I love the arts. Alexis knows how much I love the arts. And I love this exhibit for many, many reasons. And I definitely think it has a lot of value. I think where we have failed, to be honest with you, and also before I jump around, Mr. Walker, I would love to see you guys come to council, come to the commission. I don't know if you've put the ask on at the Arts and Culture Committee over at the city of Reno, but when you come and present, I think it also makes us feel very included. I love the fact that I think we can reach a different type of visitor when it comes to arts and culture. And believe it or not, and I don't have to tell you guys this, you know this, Reno has become a huge hub for arts on so many different levels. So, and also that museum is very rare. It has an accreditation. I don't know if some of our new board members know this, but it has an accreditation that is very, very special and rare. Las Vegas doesn't even have that. So it's got a lot of value. But where I do think, because even in the last presentation, one of the things that concerns me is we need to have that budget dialed in so we can say, here's where this allocation lies, because I think that that's important. So the board knows, okay, here's the parameters, but not to mention, I think where we failed is to identify that. So when people come, that we can say, hey, it fits in with this. It brings in this many room nights. We had to do that with the Conference of Mayors. It had to have an ROI. And I think that that really helps. And I think it makes the board feel really comfortable in supporting. But I do think that's where we failed as a board to identify, here's the benchmarks, so that when the museum comes in, we can fund them for this amount of money because it makes sense. So I feel like right now, you know, I can hear some board members being a little shy, and I understand that, but I also think it's not fair to do this in, you know, a 20-minute presentation. I think I'd love to see, again, like with the other presentation, you know, us branding, having a presence. What does that presence look like, so that it really is a partnership where we also get something out of it, right? The other thing that I think is really important, a lot of underprivileged children don't get to go to, you know, museums because they do cost money. So like, is there a sponsorship that way to sponsor, you know, children that can't afford it. That's one of the things that I've really pushed over at the Pioneer Theater, because I think it's super important that we, make sure that we have a community that has access to arts and culture. But I also think, I think this should be at a committee level, so we can come in and say, okay, here's what we're also willing to do, because we do market well. And I think there is also value in that. But I feel like we're sort of shooting in the dark today on what the ROI can be, what role we play, what do we play on the advertising level. I mean, we've done sponsorships where we've done billboards, we go out of market, those kinds of things. And I feel like we're just sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall today and trying to figure it out. So I think, to Eddie's point, it would be good to sit down and say, hey, how can we be a really strong partner? And I'm not so sure that we are there today in that sense. And I think that's where we also offer a lot of value. So I would like to see us, figure out a better process so that we're not wasting everyone's time with just sort of here and there. But I hope that this board, I know many people are new, but they understand how important the museum is. And I also think the city of Reno can be a better partner, and other agencies, but that's where I'm hearing a little bit of hesitancy, but I think that's where we have failed. I think the presentation was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. So that's where I apologize, but I think we have to do a better job of saying what it is that we can provide. What do we expect? Those were all benchmarks that we have to do with conventions, and it works. And I think we need to do the same here so that we know it's a partnership that really works and that we go out there and we make something like this super successful.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as the board knows, you heard me loud and clear. I'm in total support, but I think that we have some processes we have to do internally. Is there a possibility for us to move this to May? It sounds like folks want to do a bit more work. It sounds like we need to have the staff work with the museum a bit more, and because I want to see a partnership and I want to give us the time to do it. And I'm just wondering also to David, is that something that can y'all hold a bit and give us a chance to get our ducks in a row on that?
Yeah, happy to. It is our next exhibition, by the way. It's the first week of September. But we do have some time. We're deep in planning, and we're happy to collaborate with staff in any way. We've always done that, and we'd love to have your partnership. Obviously, I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for our region.
And to that point, and Mr. Kennedy, in being sensitive to what all the comments are here, we do have an opportunity that we could direct staff to basically take this to the finance subcommittee.
Yeah.
I mean, the finance subcommittee is meeting in May, and the finance subcommittee will also know with Courtney and budget and where our numbers are. I would be very interested in other levels of sponsorship. And I really liked what the mayor talked about of what can we provide. So you mentioned in kind, Mr. East. So in kind, where are the pieces? $350,000 for Move a Day is it's a lot. It's a big lift. And especially looking at a budget that is going to be projected to be lower for this incoming year. And yet it's something, I love the presentation. I love the possibilities of exposure for us, but for our region and all of there's so many benefits, from that you've all mentioned in the presentation that I don't doubt that at all. And I really see benefit. I see absolutely Travel Nevada and the state and other players like we talked about in the last presentation. Who else do we bring into this? It should be at the table. And I know you've reached out, obviously you've raised over 400,000 already. But I think us directing staff to, and Christina specifically, look at, what are our pieces for the RSCVA? that we can come in with and taking this to the finance subcommittee to really hammer out some numbers and possibilities. And I'd be very interested in other levels. So, you know, maybe we're not in a financial position to do the title sponsorship, but if we did another level along with in kind, what would that look like? What would our CVA contribute? What would our ROI on that for the region? And then really rooms, hotel rooms, visitorship, potential of what we can anticipate on that end of it, because that's a huge piece for us too. So I guess I'd be looking for comments, or if someone wants to make a motion.
Is the finance committee meeting early enough that we can still have this on our May agenda? Just understanding.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
First meeting.
Correct, yeah.
All right, move to have it go to the finance committee in May and to the RSCVA board in May. Please.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second the motion. Do I have discussion?
I'd just really like to see us get with NCOT, which can be done through Christina and their marketing team. Get RCVA with NCOT and see what we can do to help everybody. This is, NCOT's supposed to be doing this for the northern part of the state. This is huge.
Okay.
Good opportunity.
And would that would give us opportunity if we're not bringing it to finance till May, and this is the end of March, would that give us an opportunity this next month to work with Christina and Mike?
I don't know what the next NCOT or meeting is scheduled. We can definitely request to put it on their agenda.
We can.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. If Mr. Walker would like us to do that.
And our goal, Madam Chair, is senior staff to present a policy for these types of requests moving forward at the April meetings, which to Commissioner Hill's point, I think would let us get ahead of that. So if we can define that a little better, so that we meet the pre-board before the April meeting, have those discussions, everybody's.
Okay, perfect. I do see Mr. Abelsar has his hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe the motion was to refer to Finance Committee and then perhaps put on the agenda in the May full RSCVA committee. I wanted clarification on that. And then I had a question, who is on the Finance Committee? I think that there's a couple of members of our board that have expertise in this area and want to make sure that they participate in that. So can we identify who's on the Finance Committee? And then I also want to make sure we have staff, the appropriate staff available.
Right, and when the subcommittees meet, Mr. Abelsar, we always have the CEO and then whatever staff. Obviously Courtney is in those finance meetings, but any staff, and it would be more, it would probably be Christina on this particular issue at those subcommittee meetings. And I know, Mary, you can help me. I know I sit on finance, Mr. J, right, Mr. Murdoch,
Stephen,
and Mr. Schwaga. Okay, so those are the 4 members of the finance. Mr. Abelsar, you're on the executive committee. Yes.
Madam Chair, to that point, I believe Mr. J had to recuse himself from participation in this item. Is that correct?
I will check with Ben and
yes,
my legal counsel with Wells Fargo to see what I can do. Okay.
We might want to.
That's a good point.
So, Madam Chair, we might want to consider getting Mr. J relief if he's conflicted and getting a different member on finance to participate.
The subcommittees are already set, so I'll go to our attorney. He would still you'll find out if you have to recuse yourself still.
Yeah.
But if he has to be recused, we don't swap board members in and out of those subcommittees, or?
Recuse on just this one item, or is it more of a policy thing that, you and I can discuss that?
Sure. So the current board policies state that the chair designates the members of the committees. So could the chair remove somebody from a committee for one meeting and put them back on? I suppose so. And you could also have a committee member that just recused on a topic. I think either way.
Okay. So we'll see if Mr. J has to be recused. And if he does, and I wanted to place someone else on that subcommittee for just that May meeting, that is a possibility. So we will find that out and get back to you, Mr. Abelsar. Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So we will be moving this decision to the May Finance Subcommittee with a recommend staff, to work with staff recommendation from Finance Subcommittee coming to the May board meeting. Okay, thank you. Thank you all so much for the presentation and for being here. Greatly appreciated. Okay, closing, that item, we are back to item, where did it go? D1, we have new presentation and then, did Amy make it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. I was hoping that was Amy from the lake. We're going on to D1, Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan. Tahoe Fund CEO Amy Berry, Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan Managing Director Nettie Pardue, and Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Government Affairs Manager Devin Middlebrook will provide RSCVA Board of Directors with an update on the Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan, collaboration of more than 20 regional organizations with a shared vision to preserve Lake Tahoe for future generations. And Amy, thank you so much for braving the roads. I hope it wasn't too treacherous to get down here in our normal springtime weather.
It's nice to be down here. My allergies kicked in like the instant that
Thank you so much.
Snowy and beautiful. Well, thank you so much for having us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to share with you. To share with you the Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan. It's been a couple of years in the works, and we've had the great support of your staff, Christina, and then participants, and your financial support of not just this, but kind of leading up to this to take care of billboard segment lots of the community. So thank you very much. We're going to tag team this. I think Devin's going to start and take you through some of our kind of pre-learnings, and then I'll take you through some of the research we did and the plan we got to. And then we're so pleased, thanks to your financial support, we were able to bring on Nettie Purdue as our managing director, and she'll take you through what we're actually doing. So Devin, you're up.
Thank you, Amy. Again, Devin Middlebrook with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. Appreciate the flexibility on Zoom participation as the agenda shifted around this morning and the icy roads. But yeah, again, I just want to start off this presentation and talk about some of the baseline information of what informed destination stewardship and what is destination stewardship at Tahoe. And like Amy, just want to extend our gratitude to the RSCVA and your board. Ben has been a great participant really from the start of this process, representing RSCVA. And I don't want to underscore how important that has been. I don't think traditionally Tahoe and Reno have really talked as much as we are in recent years in terms of tourism and outdoor recreation. So it's been a great partnership and really appreciate this board and your staff for moving that forward. In terms of overall recreation trends, our destination stewardship plan looked at 2022 data, and our total outdoor recreation tourism economy was about $4.5 billion in direct spending, with over $10 billion in total economic impact. This was 2 million unique visitors spending about 17 million days in the Tahoe Basin. And we also recognize that nearby urban areas such as Reno are growing. So we're seeing about a 27% projected growth over the next 20 years. That demand for outdoor recreation in Tahoe is not going to be going away anytime soon. And then underlying trends that we've seen is a lot of the traditional destination marketing organizations like yourself are really taking an intentional shift towards not just marketing, but also managing the destination. Not just attracting people to the region, but also helping them be better visitors while they're enjoying the region and doing their stay. Obviously, COVID-19 had a lot of shifts in visitation, remote work, businesses, all of that. What of those impacts and changes are here to stay? And which ones are temporary and, we're going to go back to normal. And then, more recently, high inflation, a weaker economy, up until a couple of weeks ago, a pretty bad winter for Tahoe, but now we actually at least have some snow on the ground, which is exciting. But that's one of the newer trends that's impacting visitation and outdoor recreation in Tahoe. Next slide. We've also seen in recent years a travel pattern change. I think in the 1990s, Tahoe was definitely about gaming at our casinos in the South and North Shore. But as Native American gaming expanded in California, and people have started to look for other activities, we've really seen that shift. And this is showing traffic at coming up Spooner Summit on US 50. And you can see there's been about a 50% increase in cars that turn right and go towards the East Shore and Sand Harbor, and a 30% decrease in cars that are going left down to South Shore and the casinos. So you really are seeing a shift in how people are traveling in the region based on newer demands and more people wanting to get outside and recreate. Next slide. But despite this change in visitor patterns and traffic patterns, overall travel times in the region have remained the same. So that map just shows the 12 segments of traffic that we monitor at TRPA. And the biggest impacts on travel time are from construction and winter, or maybe extreme summer weather. But really, overall, we're seeing not necessarily that congestion getting worse. It's just where is it shifting across the region. Next slide. But we do also want to recognize that outdoor recreation and visitation has challenges, from litter on beaches to illegal campfires, dog waste, community quality of life concerns. All of these issues are something we don't want to, we are trying to address and reduce their impact on the Tahoe region. Next slide. And just want to highlight that we've been really talking about destination stewardship in one form or another for a number of years. I think with COVID-19 and the rush of visitation we saw in 2020, I think there's a narrative in the community, or a narrative that we were caught flat-footed at Tahoe and weren't prepared for that. But we have been talking about sustainable recreation / destination stewardship since 2018, and maybe even a little bit earlier than that with the Take Care campaign. And we were able to mobilize the partners who had been having those discussions in those early years when COVID hit, and really mobilized a recreation and outdoor recreation tourism response to COVID-19. And we had some success doing that, from launching ambassador programs, microtransit expansion, Clean Tahoe litter cleanup expansion to the North Shore. There was a lot of success that we were having in response to COVID-19 and those challenges, that we decided and there was a need for a bigger picture strategic plan and vision for the Tahoe region. And that's what we've been doing from 2021 to last year, is developing that plan. And it was launched almost a little under a year ago last year. And I think Amy and Nettie, as we go through the presentation, will tell you what we've been doing since then. Next slide. And with that, I will turn it over to Amy to talk about the process that we went through to develop the plan.
Yeah, thanks, Devin. I mean, COVID-19 was really a major inflection point for tourism and outdoor recreation in Tahoe. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest. And it developed, through that, we developed a very organic collaboration where the TRPA helped pull together a weekly call. It was like Tuesday at noon, and whoever wanted to join. And what we found is, Tahoe is 2 states, the feds, plus 5 counties in the city. And with COVID restrictions changing every minute in every county, it was like, you could step over a line and suddenly you have to be masked up, or you could step over a line and you don't have to be 6 feet, or you have to have it was so confusing, and everybody just kind of got together because it was something that no one had experienced before. And for the first time ever, we had partners on this call that never really got together before. So it was all the land managers that were used to collaborating. Then you had law enforcement, then you had all the marketing folks. And it was even at that time when RSCVA got involved, and we're like, we're actually telling people not to come to Tahoe, and you guys have some billboards in San Francisco. We'd really appreciate if you take them down, and you guys were great and you took it down. So it was one of those moments where it was pretty chaotic summer of 2020. There was a trail counter that had a higher trail count that summer than the year prior. And people just flooded to the outdoors, which is great because we know it's so good for your mental and physical health, especially during COVID. But it really alerted us to an issue that everybody was pretty motivated to solve. So a whole new group came together. I joke often that we used to run Tahoe as like a giant resort where sales and marketing never ever got to operations and everybody just kind of did their own thing. And that's when that was really highlighted during COVID. So this really unique collaboration came together, and we like to talk about, you know, rather than the environmental orgs that have the environmental improvement program pulling the marketing folks in, or the marketing folks pulling the environmental folks into their table, we just created a brand new table where everybody had equal seats around the table. And this, you can see the different organizations represented. Really happy that Palisades and Vail recently joined California State Parks, and Nevada's been a great partner, especially through that. So what did we start with? Research. We knew that there were issues when people are standing on roundabouts with signs that say tourists go home, like something's going on. So we started with public engagement. So we did over 1,100 resident surveys, over 2,300 visitor surveys, 30 really intensive one-on-one interviews with different members of the stakeholders in the community. We did 15 different discussion groups. So we had a discussion group of outdoor recreation providers. We had a discussion group with the casinos. We had the discussion group with educators to really understand what's going on and what are the core issues. We held 9 public workshops where anyone in the community could come. We held them all around the lake. We held them in English and in Spanish language. And then this core team that got together met over 16. If I had to count, I would say like 1,000 times, but we met often. And what did we learn? So from the residents, we heard quality of life, pretty outstanding, 4.5. But what we also heard is that only 21% of residents agree that tourism creation support their quality of life sense of community. That's a pretty big divide. So they love living in Tahoe. They kind of hate the fact that other people like to visit the place that they live. So we have a lot of work to do there. The visitors, on the other hand, we love it here. 88% indicate a destination supported environmental stewardship is at least somewhat important. And that 42% think we're doing an excellent job of being those stewards. And 82% say they do their part to keep a destination visited. It's back to the old 80-20 rule. So it's probably those 18% who don't agree are making all the mess that makes it into the headlines, unfortunately. So we took all of this research and we developed a plan. It's called the Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan. It's available online. It's many pages long. So to save you, we're just going to run through the key bullets, which is for the first time ever, Tahoe now has a shared vision. For years, everybody kind of operated in silos and they just made assumptions about what everybody else was thinking. And so there was a lot of assumptions that the businesses just want more and more people. And the land managers are like, we don't know how to handle all these people that just come, and we're not quite sure what to do with all of this. And sitting around a table together was really clear that everybody had a shared vision, which was officially a cherished place, welcoming to all, where people, communities, and nature benefit from a thriving tourism and outdoor recreation. So really what that is how do we support a $5 billion economy and the people that supports while taking care of the environment, which is the whole reason people are there, while taking care of the community that lives in that. And so we developed 4 main pillars. The first one, turn a shared vision into a shared action, is really about getting things done. There was a great desire that if we were going to commit this much time and effort, we didn't just want to have a pretty plan that went in a notebook and sat on the shelf, that we really wanted to see demonstrable change happen in the community. And we promised that to the community during our outreach. We need to foster a tourism economy that gives back to really address the 22% number. People have to realize and appreciate that living in a tourism economy brings great benefits to them, even if it's not so obvious when you're stuck in traffic. Improve the Tahoe experience for all. So this is really, if we had to label it, operations. You know, there are not 365 days a year of chaos in Tahoe. There's probably 50. And we need to be much more proactive. The Forest Service uses incident command. So if it's a very high fire danger day, they will park different resources, airplanes and things in areas in case there's a spark. And we are now moving to incident command days for high tourism days, winter and summer. So we shouldn't be surprised when all these people show up on July 3rd, because they always show up on July 3rd. We should be prepared for them to show up. So we have a working group that is consisting of land managers, Vail Resorts is a co-chair of that, to really look at what are the different solutions we can bring. And then lastly, advance a culture of caring for time. So this came up very strong in all the research and workshops, is people really want one consistent campaign that really helps drive home the message that when you're in Tahoe, it's a special place and you need to help us sit there. So Nettie's going to take us through kind of what that all looks like. And really thank you again for your financial support, because it's great to have a plan, but if we don't have someone that's in charge waking up every day to say, how are we going to execute this and coordinate all these different partners, We were able to find Nettie hanging out in Tahoe, kind of below the surface, and she's been asleep. So Nettie, I will turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here on Zoom. Sorry I couldn't make it down there this morning. It was a little snowy. 3-4 inches can do a lot to the roads up here. So we had a really good intention to be there with you all in person today. So yes, I'm the new managing director of the Destination Stewardship Council, and my job is to turn the plan into reality. And so one of the first things I started in this role was I wanted to talk to everyone who's been who's part of the plan, who's part of the council, to ask them what was important about my role. And I think some of the key words that came up with people were a coordinator, a clearinghouse, a person to help us amplify the message, a person to herd the cats. Because as Amy and Devin have mentioned before, Tahoe is a complex place. We are in the Tahoe Basin. We're in 5 counties, 2 states, and trying to manage this incredible natural resource. So my job is to try and turn this plan into reality as much as possible. So let's go to the next slide. So one of those pillars talked about turning a shared vision into action. That's really the governance component. So we've established this council that has representatives of many of those folks who helped design the plan and put the plan together, in addition to 4 other folks. Ben is on that council representing RSCVA. Thank you very much, Ben. So we have this council that meets on a monthly basis, build the Destination Stewardship Council capacity. That's essentially hiring a managing director, which is me, to do all the things to move the plan forward and manage all the people who are helping to move the plan forward. Secure funding and other resources. Some of the funding that we've raised is going toward my salary, but additional funding it will be over time designated towards specific projects that the action teams help us define and state some needs about. Establish action teams and work plans. We'll go through that on the next slide, and then develop and deploy a communication strategy. So again, there's many wonderful organizations doing wonderful work to move the work of the stewardship plan forward. And then there's the work of the actual council work that we're also doing. So communications is a really key component to amplify the good work that we're doing. Let's go to the next slide. So here's the council and action team structure. You see the council at the top. We have an exec committee, then the managing director role, myself. We have a comms and messaging committee. This was a former PIO group that was established during COVID, and it was such an important group of folks getting together to talk about the messaging component of the work that they were doing, that we actually merged that group into the comms and messaging committee to actually do the work for the Destination Stewardship Plan and Council. You can see underneath here, we've got 3 different colors, and those represent the other 3 pillars, which are around fostering a tourism economy that gives back, and that's an economic action team. We have the Advance a Culture of Caring for Tahoe, which is the Take Care Stewardship Action team. And then we've got this Improve the Tahoe Experience for All, which Amy spoke about being this is the operations arm, which includes recreation infrastructure, peak demand management, and waste management. All these groups, with the exception of waste management, have co-chairs representing council members and other folks throughout the region. And they've at least met, I think, a couple times at this point, and they are coming up with specific actions that they are, short-term actions and then longer-term actions. So we plan to, do probably a quarterly report out. But there was a press release announcing my position a couple days ago. That was a piece of communication, but in addition, we'll be reporting out more of the action team, so we hold ourselves accountable. Let's go to the next slide. So this slide represents a little bit of all those the pillars that we talked about, right? There's the infrastructure piece in terms of how and where are these folks going who are coming to the basin? How can we improve the infrastructure that currently exists? We've got the peak demand piece. How are we moving people around the basin, and how are we also managing those 40 to 50 peak demand days. You can see some of you may recognize the take care messaging here for the stewardship piece. So this slide represents that these are some of the immediate actions that are being done. But also we don't want this plan to be something that just sits on the shelf. We want you all and all constituents around the basin and visitors to actually see the change that we all need to happen. Let's go to the next slide. Shared funding partners. These are folks who contributed dollars, and thank you again, RSCVA, for your support. And this is what we have commitments for the first year. We've raised about $215,000, and then in subsequent years we've already have commitments up to $330,000. So again, those go towards paying for my time in terms of being the helping to implement this plan, but additional monies we are raising. We're hoping that the action teams will come to us and ask for funding for specific projects also. We'll go to the next slide. So we welcome your comments, your feedback, your questions. This is the website that you can find the full 125-page plan. It's a great plan, but you can also read the executive summary in there, which is about 7 pages long, that outlines our priorities and actions. And then feel free to reach out to me at Nettie Pardue with any of your questions, comments, ideas. If you, as we're forming the action teams also, if you think about folks from organizations that you might represent, you're saying, oh, that would be a great person to be on the stewardship action team or the economic action team, feel free to reach out to me with your ideas or suggestions. We've done a number of these presentations and we've gotten really great ideas and suggestions from you all. And so I truly welcome it. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I think we'll take questions. I just want to add to what Nettie was saying, which is not only are we thankful for your financial support and Ben and Christina engaged, but a lot of our visitation of Tahoe starts right here. And so I think there's a tremendous partnership opportunity to really change people's mindsets and get that messaging out in terms of building the culture. Really starts here. And as we look at infrastructure, the fewer cars we get in the basin, better. So what sort of transportation solutions can we have from a number of ways we can partner just to make this.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have been able to see this presentation a few times being on several boards, and I love this team. I really appreciate their work and how grassroots it is and how connected to community, and also understanding how we can be making a tourist destination where people are adding to the community and not exporting and taking away. And I think a lot of destinations are looking at that. My friend works in New Orleans and they are trying to shift the economy from taking away from the community when people go to New Orleans and just partying and not contributing, and really adding to the community and figuring out how to do that. It's a difficult task, but I think it can be done. Like when I went to Iceland, there was a real push of, when you are visiting this place, this is a delicate ecosystem and we all have a responsibility to be good visitors. And I wanted to thank the RSCVA because we have supported these efforts, not just being on the board. Thank you, Ben, for your leadership on the board, but also with the microtransit that the board has supported in the past. I really appreciate it because that's like that was one of Nettie's slides of the little, the building with the little van in front of it. That's what the little micro transit vans are. So I just appreciate the presentation. Thank you for highlighting it for the community to see. And I know there's a lot of work to do, but I'm glad that we're part of the solution.
Other comments? Mr. East?
Yeah. So when I looked at the shared funding partners on here, I immediately went to, well, who's not on here that potentially could be, should be? And I noticed Douglas isn't on here.
We are working on it. They have a little change in leadership over there. And so we are waiting for the right people to be in the right seats before we could go for the, but yeah, they're engaged. Thanks for asking.
Other comments? Anyone online? Greg, did you want to add to the conversation?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
Madam Chair.
Mayor go first.
Oh,
and then
hi.
Greg.
Sorry.
No problem.
Sorry.
Go.
I think we all have today has been, I like to be there in person, and I'm jumping through hoops today to be even on Zoom. So I apologize. I was running up a flight of stairs the last time that I spoke. So anyway, I also apologize that I had to jump off for a minute. So explain to me, and so I'm so sorry. How long you guys has this been? Like, when did this start? Give me a little bit of that, and then what exactly do you do?
Sure. Well, I can do the timeline. So 2020 was really when things were really challenging, and it was like everybody just kind of got through the summer, and then we said, you know, this is like, what's the definition of insanity, expecting things to change when you don't do anything differently. So that January, February of 2021, we held a workshop with everybody that ended up on those Zoom calls to really ask, like, how do we make sure things end up differently? And that's when Carol Chaplin at the LTVA, I remember she said, well, we just don't have a shared vision for what tourism is. And until we can align on that, we can't do much. And then that sort of started the ball rolling. We collected some funds from a number of different partners. We hired consultants, and that's when we started developing a destination stewardship plan. We finalized it in June of 2023, so almost a year ago. And now it is about coordinating multiple different entities together to develop action items that we can really go execute on. So having a new, probably a Take Care 2.0 will be coming out in the next year to really help improve the culture that we're building for folks. It's, you know, one of the pictures that was on Nettie's slide was solar trash compactors, because what we find is we don't have enough staff in Tahoe to manage the load of trash that goes in on trails on really busy days. So the solar compactors actually automatically compact the trash, which reduces the amount of resources you need to manage it. So one idea is that we will do a group purchase of those, because a few entities have them, but we'd like to see them across the entire board. And rather than every silo and every, you know, county and town and GID and PUD doing their own thing, that we'll start to collectively do things as a region that will just be more consistent for visitors, and that will actually cost less money, and we think. So we've increased trash service on busy days, increased public transportation on busy days.
Yeah.
Nettie, Devin, help in.
Okay.
I know there's thanks. It's really just
so it's like a sustainability initiative, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a combination of how do we continue to support a $5 billion economy while taking care of the environment and the community at the same time. So how do we improve the guest experience while taking care of the.
Well, that is fantastic. I applaud you. I don't think we've done a very good job here in Reno, sort of collectively figuring out our message when it comes to, you know, our incredible assets. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and it's really important. Let me ask you, so what is the ask today? I'm sorry, this has been a tough day for me to be online. So what is your ask?
I think our ask is just to continue to be a partner with us, to thank you for your support, to continue to let Ben come to all of our meetings, and to think of ways where we can partner together just to make the bond even stronger.
Yeah, I love that. The one thing I do, you know, want to be careful of with our attorneys, if there's any conflict of interest whenever we have board members on boards, and, you know, there's a financial ask, you know, those kinds of things. Because he obviously has access to us that most people don't have. So I always, you know, sometimes I get a little bit wary of that. But are you asking for a financial aspect today?
No, Madam Mayor, it's presentation only, and more our information. I don't know about the rest of you, but I hear about the stewardship plan, and I know that Ben McDonald is sitting on that representing us, and I know we have, you know, made financial commitments towards that, but I think the point today was for the board to understand, and I super appreciate the whole presentation, really what it encompasses, and how many partners you brought together, and the fact that that summer 2020 was rough. And I love your incident command for tourism concept, which really makes incredible sense, but really for us to be informed of what you all are doing and how the RSCVA is involved. And obviously it's when it's on a lot of our marketing and advertising, the lake is such an
Okay.
important component for us as well as for all of us who live here and.
I understand. Okay, well, listen, I love what you guys are doing. I think it's super critical. Like I said, it's something we should probably duplicate here as well, but I want to commend you guys. We want to continue to be great partners. So like in the spirit of moving forward, great presentation. And I would just say, let us know how we can continue to help you and partner with you.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Greg, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Sure. I just wanted to thank the team. This is about the fourth time I've seen this presentation. So you're obviously getting out and presenting it in the proper places, which I very much appreciate. I think Amy said it well that, a lot of the visitors do come from the Reno area with the airport there and all. And, when big conventions are in town, people are coming up for the day, really providing a lot of impact to the Lake Tahoe destination. So in that case, the RSCVA is a valuable partner, and I appreciate Ben being on those committees and really helping out. It being such a big marketing behemoth as the RSCVA is, I think it's so valuable to have this messaging, get out in the RSCVA, on their channels, because a lot of those impacts do come from the people that are visiting Reno. So thanks again, team. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you, Amy, for braving the road to get down here and for your team's presentation today. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we will close that item. And moving on to, we're on F, right? Somebody make sure that it's on all over and I'm with which paper am I on? Okay. Moving on to item F, board member announcements, reports and updates. I'd like to open it with an announcement of our spotlight winner for the month of February, Tom McLean, the National Bowling Stadium. And I'm going to let Mr. Larragetta just give us a brief couple comments about Mr. McLean, and he is not here today, but I want to recognize monthly who our spotlight winners are. So Mr. Larragetta.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it. So on March 13th, we recognize Tom for our spotlight winner for the month of February. Tom has been with the RSCVA since the transition in June. Prior to that, he was an ASM employee. He's a building engineer at the National Bowling Stadium, and we weren't sure if he was available to be here or not because we're all concerned about giving him the mic. As you can see from the picture, he's quite the personality. He is a wonderful guy. We're a great asset. I asked Trent to provide some comments. So just to read Trent's quote, Trent McCurry, Vice President of Facilities. Trent's quote is, he's a very energetic employee with a phenomenal attitude. He is hands-on with a can-do attitude and eagerness to learn. He is an integral part of the engineering team at the NBS and an asset to the organization. And I echo those comments as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And always an honor to honor those that make this organization run. And a lot of, people that we don't get to see on a daily basis. The Spotlight program, I think, is an amazing way for the board to recognize that and to thank them. And please thank Tom on our behalf for the good work that he's doing for this organization. Thank you so much. Any other announcements or updates? Oh, we've got our airport update.
We got our airport
Mr.
today,
J.
and we've got a lot going on. 2 weeks ago, as reported, March 14th, the board unanimously voted to go ahead with the Ground Transportation Center and ongoing negotiations. This is a very important milestone for us as it's one step closer putting those rental cars into a different facility, opening up all that space there, but also allowing the rental cars to expand and grow the market share even more. So that's really good. April 11th, I've said before, will be the ribbon cutting for the new area. One element you're going to see there, kind of speaking to arts, is the 450-foot mural on the back wall of the ticketing counter, and it is called Repeated Refrains. And it's kind of bringing beautiful renditions of flora and fauna native to our region. I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's absolutely amazing. Non-service flight to Atlanta returns after a multi-year hiatus on June 7th and is booking right now. 3 returning non-fly stoplights to Chicago. O'Hare returns at the end of this month. American to O'Hare returns in June. Southwest to Midway also returns in June. Very busy this week with spring break. The one thing that Darren always says is that we're capacity, but we have yet to turn a car away. We'll figure it out, so we're there. Passenger counts, looks like March 28th was one of our busiest days, so very good news there. We'll do that. Last thing, if I can request an agenda item for 5-10 minutes at our next meeting to present the buy local initiative / proclamation for board discussion. So, other than that, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I see Mr. Avisar's hand up. Eddie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to request, I was looking at some of the upcoming agendas, and I know we have looks like a very big, bulky May of work for all of us to do. I know that when you set the agendas at the beginning of the year, you requested, what do we want to do about the summer? And I wanted to just throw this out to the board. It sounded like sometimes in the months, we wanted to take some months off in the summer from a board meeting perhaps. And I wanted to see if maybe we can bulk up our May and skip June, if that is something that is the preference of the board, if we're going to take a break.
Okay. I've got it. Any other updates, announcements? Mayor Sheedy. Mayor Sheedy, did you have an announcement or an update for us?
You're on mute.
Show mute.
Yeah.
Mayor Sheedy, did we lose you? Looks like it's on mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, sorry. Let me ask, did I miss something? Usually we have a CEO update or some staff presentation.
We did not have that today because our agenda, I talked to Mr. Larragetta and staff was good for this month. So it won't always be every month and it'll depend on how booked the rest of the agenda was. And obviously it was longer. We already pulled 2 items and we're still here at our noon. So no, I checked with the CEO and staff and they were good for the month. They covered, I think, some things in pre-boards, but generally I was assured there's not an update this month. So he will let me know for next month what he needs from himself and staff.
Okay, well, here, I don't know. I'm a little frustrated as vice chair. I think we need to do probably a better job on the agenda because we really didn't do any business. And we've been talking about policies. We've been talking about agendas. I think there's a better way to streamline this. And I'm thinking that you are only going to bring the budget to us once for one set of eyes. I kind of think we need the budget before, because there were presentations today and, we're not sure if we're funding, what we're doing, where the financial health of the organization's at. So that also makes it hard to vote on things that come before us. I do think that we should have something on the agenda to take a look at the budget, and we should be doing policies sooner than later. We have a brand new board, basically. We have a brand new CEO. Every board I sit on, there is always a CEO or executive director update, because that's sort of official business. I would really suggest some oversight so that there is some cohesiveness on what we're putting on the agenda. So the sooner we could do that, not to mention maybe some strategic visioning. I feel like the board kind of has different ideas of where they'd like to go. And I just don't think that we have dialed it down in any capacity. And also to make better time of the board's time and also the people that come before us and present.
Okay, on the budget, that will come before the finance subcommittee, which is meeting May 10th. So it always
Yeah.
goes to the subcommittee in an advisory capacity to really dial down farther
Yeah.
into that. And then they bring it to the board, which obviously we will be addressing on the agenda. I depend on the CEO, which I have even in Mr. Lurgette's interim, of deciding what things he needs from operational standpoint, as well as requests like we had today of other outside to form that agenda. Obviously, always looking at what board members would like to place on those too. We do have a lot. And keep in mind too, the last couple months with our CEO search and process, a lot of things have gotten pushed, including our airport consultant that we had in January or February, and then we moved that. So we kind of, I feel like we're a little behind too. We have a strategic plan that we're going to be looking at starting work on. So there's a lot of work to be done that we've got to figure out how we can manage that in the upcoming months and be as efficient. I agree with you. I want to make these as efficient as we can. The pre-boards are really helpful, I think. I hope they are to all of you, where Mr. Largetta and his team can even go in depth and answer more questions on things that you have. And so when you walk in these meetings, you have more information on what will be on the agenda, as well as, more information from them. So that's valuable, but I do.
Well,
yeah,
maybe Ben, thank you. I appreciate that, Councilwoman. Ben, can you clarify then who sets the agenda? Because, I mean, if she is relying on the CEO as well, then I would like to make sure that, it's congruent with what the business that we're conducting. So is that the way that it works? Because I've heard two different sides.
Correct. So the current board policies and procedures say that the chair sets the agenda working in connection with the CEO.
Okay.
And I think that's how it's always been. That's that's current policy. Current policy has been, with Mr. Lucy, it was beforehand working with the various CEOs.
Correct.
So that's current policy that's been in place for a while.
Correct.
I guess, yeah, that would be great, because I guess that I'm confused as to what gets on the agenda, especially after a lot of the discussion that we've been having at these board meetings. And to your point, I think, Councilwoman, that we are behind. And I guess my fear is, I think we have to adopt that budget by law by June, correct? Will we get another bite at the apple, or is it just going to come to the board for approval? Because let's say the majority of the board doesn't support what the agenda looks like. And I know we've got a subcommittee, but that's very different, approving an agenda when the board doesn't have consensus on it. That's what I'm concerned about. So I'd like some clarity.
Courtney, and I know, and Madam Mayor, to your point, you may do it in the city of Reno like we do in Sparks, I'm not sure, but we actually have two bites at the apple. We do a budget workshop separately in Sparks, and then we do a pre-approval of the budget, and the final budget comes to us in May for, it has to be at the state by the end of May. So, Mr. Lurgett.
I was just gonna say, Mike Largetta for the record, not to put Courtney on the spot, with an April 28th board meeting scheduled date and a May 10th finance, could we do a preliminary run at the April? Focusing on the highlights, focusing on.
Right. But it would be a little.
We can take a look at that, Madam Chair, if that's something that the board is requesting to see it twice, and maybe it's not again, I'm just talking out loud, but maybe it's not a comprehensive detail by department of every line item of the budget that Courtney generally does in May. Maybe it is really focusing on the overall number, what we're projecting in terms of deficit to the prior year, maybe any specific changes relative that we're making to prior year, whether that is staffing or reallocation of funds in certain areas. Maybe those are the highlights we'll focus on, if we could do that. Madam Mayor, if that would suffice.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, would that help if we got a highlight before?
I think so. I think we all need to sort of be on the same page and understand like what vision do we all have? I mean, it seems like, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse on a lot of things. And I'd like to get the agenda super tight so we can sort of get moving forward, get productive, all those things. And it just feels like those are on the back burner. So anything you can do to facilitate that would be great. And I would also suggest always having a CEO update. I think that's really important, especially a new CEO. Also, we should kind of, other departments should be presenting. I think that that's really critical. So I would appreciate those considerations. Thank you.
I've made notes on all of that, and then we will look at how much we can cram into a 3-hour time frame, which and we've got a lot. I mean, we really do, to not only what the mayor's spoken to, but the things we're kind of trying to catch up on, and really important things like budget and strategic plan and policies, which I will be calling a meeting of the Executive Legislative Committee, and I'll have Mara look at calendars so that we can start on this board policy update that we want to do. So we've got a ton of work to do. So I'm going to ask the board for their help in moving the meetings along and moving as quickly and as efficiently as we can, so we can get all that business done. I don't want to taking 4 or 5 hours out of your time to do that. So your help as we move through these would be helpful too. Mr. Abelsar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I appreciate your comment on efficiency, and I would just highlight the value of our subcommittees getting many of these presentations done in advance so that perhaps the board's time is best used at deliberation and action. And then those subcommittees, I think they're invaluable and it's great, but much of our time is being used hearing presentations that are pretty lengthy that might be best served at a subcommittee level. So
okay,
I appreciate you.
Thank you for that input. Okay, so hearing no other comments, item G, comments from the public, from the floor by the public. Do we have any public comments?
It looks like you left, so not at this time.
Okay, so I will close public comments and we are adjourned. Thank you all.